we should be good to go, Val. It's streaming now.
Find out who was the
Um,
reporter.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I know this has been a difficult year for us. Val just mentioned about the supplement discussion. I asked her if that was back in March, and she said no, it's January. I can't even keep track of the months anymore. And I know in the schools, it's no better than that. It's probably a lot worse. So I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight to do this. I know that it's stressful and it's difficult to communicate. We tried to do bargaining over Zoom, which was new to everybody. I'm glad we can actually meet face to face. It's a lot easier for us to communicate and make sure that everything is spelled out the way it used to be. I know we used to have minutes displayed up on there, but when we're meeting after, I don't have anybody who can stay after. So the minutes will be transcribed tomorrow on YouTube, and I'll send you all a copy. Will that work?
Yes.
Valerie Duke will be doing that, and then as soon as I get them, I'll send them to you.
Who's the person?
Valerie Duke, the Valerie that I have in my office. She'll be taking care of that tomorrow. So just some housekeeping things that everyone knows. Restrooms are right down the hallway. Whenever you need to go, there's no vending machines here. You got to go up to the top floor if you want anything from a vending machine. But other than that, we should be good to go. I would like to ask Val and Vicki, if there's ever a time where you feel like I'm not being responsive enough to something, feel free to either let me know, or if you like, you can contact Mr. Bishop, Johnny Bishop, he's my supervisor. And if that's the case, he'll let me know real quickly that I'm not being responsive. I can tell you that about him. He doesn't pull any punches for that. So if you need anything, and if I'm not getting to you quickly enough, just let him know, and he'll remind me of it pretty quickly. Okay, all right. Just wanted to say that. Now I appreciate some of the things that that's why I asked if there were some things that you want to talk about, so I could have some ideas. One of the things, I don't mean to skip ahead, but you asked about Raptor.
Mm-hmm.
That would be Chief Vincent, really is the one who's overseeing that. If you want him, I can, if we're gonna meet again on the 24th, I will ask him to be here and present it to the group. And I don't want to get false or bad information
Right.
about it.
So we may not actually be able
Oh.
to meet on the 24th after all. I know that Vicki has surgery
Oh,
coming up.
okay,
And she'll be quarantined.
I
right?
apologize, I heard y'all talking about quarantine, I didn't know what it was. Whatever date it is, just let me know and I'll try to get him here to
Okay.
talk about it.
But to be clear, the question about Raptor came up because my understanding is, and Vicki can clarify, that there is a pilot, a rollout of some kind going on at least one of the schools, right?
Citrus High School, but maybe at LeCanter High School too, I do believe that was mentioned.
About the reunification.
Using Raptor on our personal devices.
And that's what he'll talk to you about that. I don't know much about it. So that's why I said he'll be able to explain it. I don't want to say something that's incorrect.
Okay, but my only question was on that was because it was our understanding, we do have some questions on it, but it was my understanding that the district was wanting more for it to come to bargaining.
Okay, but like I said, that's why if you let me know, he'll be able to explain exactly what it is. Because if it's what you say, people putting it on their personal devices, that's something that I don't think we would be asking people to do as a term and condition of employment without talking with CCA about it.
Okay,
Does that make
so
sense?
we'll have that discussion next time.
Yeah, if you let me know, and I'll have him come in, because I don't know the particulars about it. My department deals with the drill manager of Raptor, which I know you all love, all the Alice drills and all those things. We get those. This new Raptor, he understands that, and I don't want to speak as to exactly what it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I just want to make sure we're on the same page with that, because I don't know it well enough to speak about it.
Yeah, you were initially, I think, just interested in clarification specifically of whether or not people, since it's being rolled out at this time, are people now being asked to put it on their personal devices?
I'm not even 100% sure.
Okay.
Well, because I will tell you at our faculty meeting, they were being suggested
Okay.
that it goes on there. So I'm a little concerned, we can't wait too long. We have to get some clarification because people are already putting it, probably going to put it on their devices.
Okay.
So, I mean, on the iPads, it's fine, but what was said was if you leave
Well, yeah,
campus,
that's the
your
problem.
iPad is.
Well, I mean, we don't have 3G or 4G enabled iPads. When you leave campus with an iPad, it just becomes a heavy object you're carrying in your hands. So I get where you're coming from with that, which is probably exactly why it was brought up in that respect. And without speaking out there, I think there might be some statute that's involved in this regarding reunifications, but I'd have to check with Chief Vincent. So if you guys want to, got any specific questions, if you let me know, I can get with him and maybe get you the questions answered even before.
Okay, is there something that maybe there could be something that right now, if anyone puts it on their personal devices, that there's going to be discussion if someone, I just don't want someone getting in trouble because they're using their personal device, using something that the principal has asked, you know,
Oh, I got it.
you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I got it.
So I don't, because if we have to wait until the time when we have that discussion and before we get any language, there could be someone already getting into trouble
Okay.
using it.
No, okay. I
Because it's
understand
their
what you're
personal
saying now.
device.
I understand what you're saying now. So if someone is using this app on the device for whatever reason, trying to learn it, trying to understand it, that they wouldn't be getting disciplined because they're using their device, okay.
Exactly, their own
Okay.
personal device at this time. I mean, later on, we can look at all the logistics of using a personal device, but I just want some clarification
No
on where we stand if someone.
I should be able to, I'll check with them tomorrow
Thank
morning.
you.
Do you think assurance that using the app on a personal device is at the employee's discretion until we reach
Yes,
an
I think
arrangement?
it should be voluntary only, but I still, because there's so many teachers that wanna do the right thing. I mean, we always are. So even if it's voluntary, I guarantee most people are gonna do it because we care about our kids.
Yeah.
And we're off campus,
Yeah.
and if we have that Raptor on our phone, and we can right away sit there
Yeah.
and tell who's there and who's not, teachers are gonna do that. So
Yeah,
I just want some
Yeah,
reassurance right now
there
until.
hasn't been anyone who's been disciplined or spoken to about that.
Not right now, no,
Okay.
sir,
That's
but
what
I
I-
just wanna make sure.
No, I get it. I understand exactly what you're saying. That's why I wrote it down. I want to make sure it isn't happening already, okay?
All right,
I'll let
thank
know.
you.
Okay, oh, no problem. I thought you wanted like a presentation as to what Raptor was.
No, I know what it is.
Okay, then you probably know more about it than me. That's not a problem. Okay, thank you. I should be able to catch up with him tomorrow,
All right,
and hopefully I
thank
can
you.
let you, give you guys an update on that. Okay. So I just wanted to go ahead and talk about that one, because if you needed him in here, I needed to know what date, to let him know what it is.
Yeah, it's mainly just how can we
Gotcha.
protect those employees with that, so I think that's gonna be a discussion we're gonna have to have.
Okay, yeah, that's no problem. I can get some information for you hopefully by tomorrow on that. That was about, I'm gonna actually email Chief Benson right now to see.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I did send you a couple of other
Yes, ma'am.
items. Some of them were things that I think had initiated in bargaining conversations previously, and we just really need to tie up some loose ends and figure out what we're going to do about them. And probably, from the district perspective, the most urgent is let's finalize the instructional placement schedule for this year, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
we have general parameters that we agreed to when we reached settlement, and I know that you have provided sort of the rundown of the proposed schedule that's reflective of where people will be placed and at what point we can begin awarding additional experience credit in the placement schedule. And so the only concern I had, and the reason I think we needed to bring it back here to be able to finalize it, is because based on the conversations that you and I have had and the email exchanges that we've had, it does sound like the language that currently exists relative to providing for 5 years of experience for those teachers who previously retired from citrus
Mhm.
schools and then have returned.
Yes.
So they had been awarded 5 years credit when they came in, and then the compression happened, and
Mhm.
now they're right back to the
Yes.
first year teacher salary. And because of the way that that language is worded, presumably without adjusting that verbiage somehow or coming to a separate agreement, they're no longer getting 5 years of experience credit.
Okay, now, I understand what you're saying, but what we're looking at is really, I think it's the years 1 through 0 through 15, 16, I'm guessing right now, all would be at 46,000, correct? So what you're talking about, because technically anyone who comes in that's drawing a retirement comes in at 0 experience. Our people who retire from Citrus County Schools, per the language in the contract, says they get 5 years of service credit.
Right.
So what we're talking about isn't then, what you're mentioning isn't the 5 years of service, you're talking about 5, I don't want to use the word steps because that's not what we have anymore, 5 levels,
Yes.
is that right? That's what you're talking about?
Yes, because
Okay.
presumably the reason that language existed at all was to ensure that you weren't bringing back somebody who had retired out of this district with full career's worth of experience
Mhm.
and bringing them back in at first year teacher level. And so right now, because of the compression that was created, that's essentially what we have. So I think that and it's not a whole lot of people from what I could tell based on the roster you provided.
No, I don't believe it's too many, 10?
Yeah, it's a handful of people, and so it seems like since the placement schedule that has kind of sort of been discussed would create that $50 increment.
Well, at $50, when we met here, the $50 increment past 46 would not put anyone new above anyone who was already here, right? Because that's what we discussed about that
Yes.
not happening. And so we went through and literally, if you get above $50, you really do start getting into where somebody who falls underneath, and that is not what we want.
Right,
So that's why when we did 50, so you would be talking about
5 years,
46,250.
yeah, 5 years, $50.
Yeah, if there was $50 increments.
That's another $250 for each of those people, but
Okay.
at the bare minimum, we're continuing to honor the spirit of the language, which ensures that those folks.
And just so everyone knows, and I agree, just so everyone knows, the reason why they aren't getting it now is because the language literally said 5 years of experience.
Correct.
And
And prohibited.
yeah, until we met doing anything beyond that, just like I told you, any new teachers coming in, if they come in with 20 years, they're 46 until we come up with what it is, and then they'll be retroed back
Mhm.
to what they're supposed to be, whatever scale the group comes up with. So I just want everyone to understand, it's just very strange because I don't know in your years, or thinking in your years you've done this, we've never had something like this where there was that shift like that. I don't even think when we went to performance pay, it was quite like that. We had a pain moving everybody over, right? But it wasn't quite like this. So this is an interesting one for all of us. So yeah, I don't have a problem. So we're looking at still keeping the 5 years for CCSB retirees, right?
Correct.
We're not looking at changing that. And then being moved to, so what would the beginning salary be, like level 0? I'm just trying to think of how we're gonna label it.
Yeah,
Because it used to be
Yeah, I
years
think
of experience,
it's level 0 would
Okay,
be
so-
when they come in.
so they'd be at level 0, and I apologize. So, okay, so this would be, you're talking about level 5. If that's the term we're just throwing around right now,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I don't have that.
And it really is, I mean, admittedly, it's a token, but it seems that we have to do something to honor the spirit of the language that's existed, because we do have teachers returning to our classrooms, and
We do,
we need them.
yeah.
I mean, we need them to feel appreciated for the experience they bring too, so.
I'm trying to find that salary chart, but I do not remember it being very many.
Mr.
people.
Ballmer,
Yes.
is there any time where you're gonna change the, on your website, the district website, the contract? You guys
Well-
still have the old one.
Well, right now, we have to put, we need them in Word in order, because for ADA.
Because we have ours up on our website.
Okay, but like I said, I have to put them in Word format to do that. So, right now what I have is the PDFs. Because whenever I asked to do that, they said, well, we have to change them. They need to be in Word so we can make them ADA compliant with, I don't
Can
understand.
someone do that? Because it's been now for a while.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, we
been
can get that done.
a long
I
time.
mean, we're doing the whole book this year, right?
Well, but I mean, even last year it was,
Mhm.
it was changed, nothing's, it's still the old one.
Okay, yeah. I'll get with, I think it's Tim Mullis.
So I always send people to our website, which is fine, they can come to our website.
Yeah, so, the proposed placement puts years 1 through 15 at 46,000.
1 through 15, okay.
Year 16 goes to 4650, 17 to 46,1, 18, 46,150. We'd be proposing that our retired citrus teachers are at 46,250.
Okay. All right, I'll bring that to the executive staff. And
I have a question.
Yes.
Before we move too much further. We always have started, and it's in our contract that we be IBB.
Yes.
And so, we're having discussion right now, just, which is open and it's fine, but I think we really need to go back to our IBB since it's our contract.
Okay.
When we talk about money, it's kind of harder to go into that, but when we talk about language, we need to. So, there's a lot of people that have not been trained in IBB, and so that's something that I think that we need to put on our agenda. It needs to be done. We need to have someone that comes in here that monitors our IBB process, because it hasn't been being done. And from both parties,
Okay.
please understand, it's not just the district, it's both parties have not been doing the IBB, but it is in our contract to do an IBB. Now, we understand when it comes to salaries, that kind of goes away.
Mhm.
But especially when it comes to language, we need to have that. So just while I really would like to put that on the agenda, that we have someone come in, takes care of that. We get someone that takes care of it, and
Yeah,
it doesn't cost us anything, doesn't cost you anything.
Cynthia Jeffries, who did our meeting last summer, can help us identify somebody that can serve as a facilitator for when we move truly into an IBB process. They can serve to kind of move the conversation forward, help center it, focus it, and keep us hopefully on track so that it becomes a more productive process.
Have we ever had that before, Vicki, someone who?
We had trainings in the past,
No, I
yes.
mean, someone who monitored, I mean.
We never had anyone to monitor
Okay.
because everyone took the trainings in the past. But we haven't, we've been trying to get the trainings and nothing's been happening, nothing's been going forth. And so
We
then,
took a training last year, didn't we?
We
Yeah,
did,
IBB
yeah, we
training.
did yeah,
Well, not, COVID, but.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
Zoom.
it was
Zoom,
yeah,
Zoom,
it was
sure it was Zoom,
and then
yeah.
like, so even like right now for our meeting, we're supposed to have someone that's supposed to be monitoring, keeping track of questions, keeping track of, keeping everyone, so we're definitely even today not even doing our IBB process. So I just wanna make sure we're going to be moving forward, just to make sure that we're all doing that. That,
Okay.
I think we really need someone to come in, it doesn't cost anything, and they just come in and make sure we're doing it, because we could be doing it wrong. I think overall, I think it's everyone is not doing the IBB process like when Deborah Platt was here. Deborah Platt, I will give her a kudos, she was the IBB process queen. And I think we moved away from that, and I think we really need to get back on track with that, since that is what is in our contract. And again, I keep going back to our contract because that's what's stated,
Yeah.
that we're doing the IBB process, and we're not. We haven't been for a long time. Not a true IBB process. So having someone come in, it doesn't cost anything. They're not gonna be on one side or the other, they're just gonna make sure, they're not our person, they're not your person. They're not from us, let me just tell you, they're not from CCEA, they're not from FEA. They're an outside entity that doesn't cost anything, but they make sure that the process is being done properly.
Okay,
So-
no, I don't have an issue with that.
so we can, I think, benefit from a facilitator from FNCS who can come in and help us set up the ground rules and lead us through the process. specifically when we're working on language pieces, like Vicki was saying, I think that it gets much harder to do IBP when it's money on the table, and it's just a matter of figuring out how on earth do you stretch it as far as you can.
Mhm.
So, when we do get to language, and specifically those things that, we know that there should be areas where there's mutual interest to see language improve, having a true IBB process will maybe move along faster for us too.
And I'm only bringing it up now because since we're kind of like, this meeting is kind of like bringing up what we're gonna be discussing.
Yeah, no problem.
I think that should be a part of our agenda.
I don't have any issue with that. Okay, thank you.
So, the placement schedule was the, kind of the cleanup piece from the settlement. It sounds like we're in the same realm of thinking.
I just have to verify that, because I needed to make sure that we were all on the same page with the $50.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I should, it should not take me very long to get clarification on that.
Yeah, the way that it seemed to fall, looking at the rosters, like you said, there comes a moment where if the increments get too large, you're definitely creating a leapfrog of people who are coming from outside, stepping above, ending up entering above people who are
Yes.
sitting in the system. So I think $50 is the right increment.
I mean, you look at it, and I think you probably look at it too, it gets to be a challenge when you're trying to find where that next one is, and the last thing anybody wants is for someone to be coming in from somewhere else and move ahead of someone who's been here for 17 years. That is no one's intention in that whatsoever. And I know, Vicki, were you here when they did performance pay?
Oh, yes.
For the crowd? I mean, that was a lot of time, I remember Deborah telling us about it, spent trying to create that, I call it crosswalk, to put people in the right spot where
It was
people
very
were.
difficult.
Yeah, so I definitely don't wanna, skip something that's gonna put someone behind someone who's new. That is never what anybody here wants, so, yes, I'm good with that. Now that we're looking at the $50, I can find out about that one. And then the 5 years for the CCSD retirees. So I don't know what work, but they'd be on the fifth rung, if you will, fifth level up above the new hires, right, Josh? Okay. Now, if we do that, would we just be able to come up with an agreement here to be able to get us through until, does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Until-
should be.
I would, because I prefer, if that's the case, be able to square this away with people as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, something that's been hanging out there a little bit longer than that, is the athletic supplements, which we had a lot of committee work, poured into, a review of where our supplements were compared to surrounding and competing districts. We looked at all aspects of the athletic supplements, including, was it just athletic supplements that we were talking about, the academic ones as well?
yeah.
Right.
And we left off with some recommendations out of that committee, and this was January 30th of a year ago, so January 30th, 2020. And as things tend to do when salary
Do you want me to pass
conversations. Yeah, do you mind? We kind of set it aside, and I don't know about you and the district, but we continue to hear from our
Oh, yeah.
coaches about
Well, not just from our coaches, I hear from other people as well. And for those of you who weren't involved in it, or we were looking at our coaching supplements, if I recall, had not changed in, Rob, since you hired me as a middle school football coach back in 2000, even before that. So that was exactly the same. So there hadn't been any change in that. So we started talking about as a percentage of, no, I don't think, percentage of the base salary. But at the same time, if Al, tell me if I'm wrong, the governor, that's when the governor floated the idea of 47.5. And
Yes.
we weren't sure where that was going.
Right.
So that became, very confusing to us, and then COVID-19 hit, so everything kind of went up in the air from there. So let me look back at these again.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a chance to look
Yeah.
at it, so, essentially, we did add the cross-country supplement.
Yes.
That's been done.
And we do know that, they're still asking us about it, and I'm sure they're still
Oh,
asking.
yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah, and that.
Because it was a great committee that got together.
Oh, yeah.
I commend them. They met, what was it, 4 times?
Mhm.
And they worked on language, they worked on, they were really good.
Well,
They
for
were-
the first time in a while, I think we really dug into, and we found some things that weren't quite making sense. Because
Right.
it hadn't been looked at.
Exactly.
There was a lot of work, they did put a lot of work into that.
And then, of course, it got on hold because of the 47.5,
Yeah,
but they didn't understand that. They
Yeah.
just thought we just pushed
No.
them aside, so it's good that we come back to
Mhm.
this.
So I think that, the first, takeaway or portion of the summary has to do with just an increase
mhm.
on appendix B, to be improved by 10%. So that's $43,966, right at about $44,000. At least it was as of a year ago, when we were looking at the numbers a year ago.
Yeah,
So, depending on whether or not we've added more coaching.
Now, the cross-country was already added
yeah,
already
that
though,
should have
right?
already been on there.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so that was already added.
And then we had talked about, coming back to have a conversation to move the supplements to a percentage of the starting teacher salary.
and, if you don't mind, the thought process with that in the committee was that then we know whenever there's an increase in the starting teacher salary, we know that what the increase would be to the coaching supplement. It would not be a surprise, it could be something that, when we talk about negotiations, right? So it was all out there as a percentage, it would move with it. So there's no gotcha
Right,
at the
which
end.
could also help
Yeah,
recruit.
and it moves it along where it doesn't sit stagnant for 15 to 20 years. So that was the reason why we talked about it in such a way, and I believe the committee agreed that was probably the best way to do it in light of things. I don't know, Val, I mean, you asked you this last year, do other districts revisit their coaching supplements or their other supplements very often?
My experience has been that it's never a top priority to visit those
Okay.
during budget discussions, during
Okay.
conversations about
It's usually
funds.
salary.
Yeah,
So it moving to a percentage of the base does ensure that we don't have that tug of war.
yeah,
It would be just a done deal every single time.
yeah, well,
We wouldn't have to worry
yeah,
about it.
as the starting salary went up, we'd be able to see exactly what the,
And for budget, it would help too, because you already know
That's
what
right,
you
yeah.
need to budget for.
yep, it's gonna be here, if this moves up to here, this is what the total cost would be, because it'll be the total cost of what it would be if we agreed to that, so yeah, that's,
So
just so everybody understands what we're talking about. I know we're saying it kind of quick, but there was a lot of time spent going through that, looking at it from a lot of different angles, trying to figure out what would work best. So, yeah, you're right, that committee they put a lot of work into that.
So I can tell you the idea there was that we would take the supplement schedule, add 10% to it, right? And then based on whatever this year's starting salary was, calculate each of them out as a percentage of. So if somebody's supplement was improved to $3,000, it'd be 3,000 divided by 46,000 would give you the percentage that supplement would account for.
Yes.
Mhm.
But it's, I'm only chuckling because I can imagine if someone's looking in the contract that says, hang on, I make how much as a football coach, or how much as,
Yeah.
oh, you gotta do a quick little math problem to, you know. But as our placement scale changes each year, you know what I mean? That would be, that's kind of a separate page, you just look on there and just have to do the multiplication.
There would have to be something for them to understand, some discussion there or something to be able to explain that.
Is there a way for us to like post that appendix?
There should be,
I mean, once we determine what the
yeah.
starting teacher salary
There should
is,
be.
and say, here's what,
Calculated, and then that,
it may be kind of, maybe
It
kind of
goes right
strange,
with it,
you know,
yeah.
you may be making, as a dive coach, instead of $1,700, you may make, $1,812.52 or something, but right? And then we could just agree this is what this is, and that would be posted out there for supplements or something like that. I think that would probably be better than,
Definitely would have like a percentage going
Yeah.
towards, whatever your salary is, your percentage is,
we could even put an explanation, you know, 1.8% of base teacher pay
yeah.
in this amount. It would
Right.
just, am I wrong in thinking it would just be one sheet each year? We
Yeah.
just have to put out there, I think that would probably help alleviate, hopefully, the confusion out there. So if somebody's looking to come, as Vicki said for recruiting, looking to come here and they coach a sport, well, how much do they get paid as a supplement? A percentage isn't really the best thing for them. Percentage equals this amount of money,
right.
then they have a better idea. So yeah, I think does that make sense to everybody for something like that? Okay.
So if we did like taking the activities director as an example,
Mhm,
that supplement is 35.30.
mhm,
We did the 10%, that would take it to 38.83.
mhm.
And expressed as a percentage, it'd be like 8%.
Is that what it is, 8%?
It's 8.4.
Yes, we just have to come through each of those.
Mhm.
And the zero there,
So the first thing is, I guess the first hurdle to clear in making this move is, can we find $43,966 to improve 10% first?
so. Mhm.
That's where your job comes in. Ms.
Oh, I know. No.
The math and the percentages and the
Yeah.
breakdown.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page because I think this is something that we need to figure out a way to try to make happen. I know it's easy to say that now, whatever, but as you said, there was a lot of work that went into it. It wasn't that there was a lot of work, it's just that this is something that has not changed in a long time. And I think
Now,
it's something that
Is it still 43,966 currently
As of last time, or is it, has it?
I don't know, I don't think we've added any coaching
I just wanted to
positions.
make sure.
With the exception of, like, sometimes there's a gender equity position, like that was brought up at the board, if we have, that's usually middle school, if we have, okay, I'm gonna say high school softball. If we have 48 girls come out for high school softball, and they
Oh.
need another coach because we need
Yeah.
supervision, we don't wanna cut females from a sport
Right.
whenever it's hard to get, so we may add another coach, but that's not very many a year.
Well, actually, that was brought up in the committee, actually.
Yeah, so I mean,
remember
it's,
that.
so the gender equity shows up every now and then, but it's not extremely often, but they seek approval for it, and it has to meet a certain cutoffs for the High School Activity Association for that. So, I don't wanna say that's the exact amount, because I know that one just got approved at the board yesterday, so, but it's not, I don't think it's that much different, we're talking about maybe 2 coaches a year,
Right.
something like that, so not a huge difference in that. But yeah, that was brought up, so it does occur. I believe our athletic directors probably brought that up, right? They're the ones who
Yeah.
did it first.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's that many. I would have to go back and find out. So I don't, what we looked at, with that 48,000, what was the amount about? You just told me, and I'm sorry.
43.
43,966.
I think that is what we talked about, the people the positions that we had year in, year out.
Yeah, and since nothing really
Yeah, so,
changed.
let me find out.
So that was applied to athletic and academic supplements.
And everybody on this team, you already, the MS cross country supplement will be added, you guys put down there that it's added already, because we do it.
And so I'm hoping that we can find something to make that work, because, I really do believe a lot of these have been, I know they have been, because I'm looking at some, like, band director is the same as it was whenever.
It's been stagnant for many, many years.
Yeah.
We're still pretty competitive with other surrounding districts, but it's been stagnant for a long time, because they pushed really high years ago.
Mhm.
And so we were higher than
Agreed.
most districts for a long time, and now everyone's caught up to us, and so now we're
Oh, well, no.
exactly the same.
Yeah,
And so we need, if we wanna get coaches here, we
Mhm.
wanna have those coaches, we need to be a little bit more competitive again, just like we try to do with the teacher's salary.
yeah.
The other recommendations on Appendix B were ones that we weren't able to cost at the moment, and I think it had to do with being able to backtrack and calculate the actual number of years of experience that each of the coaches who were currently serving had, right? So,
Mhm.
the improvement to the supplement experience increment was recommended by the committee, that all roles supplemented in Appendix B, except for the middle school intramurals, would be eligible for the experience increment based on in-county experience within a role. Remember how hard it was to work on that language
Yes,
to figure out who would it apply to
Yeah.
and what circumstance?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Regardless of the gender of the sports supplement. For example, a coach with 4 years of in-county experience coaching girls soccer and 2 years of in-county experience coaching boys soccer should be granted 6
6 years.
years towards the increment. So there's no separation based on gender of the sport. If you've been coaching soccer, you get credit for every year that you've coached in-county. The second recommendation was a $100 supplement experience increment to be applied every 3 years. I believe that right now it's every 5 years there's an increment.
Was it 5 years? Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it
it's
was,
5 years.
And to remove the cap on the experience credit, because it only goes up to, what is it, $500?
Mm-hmm.
So, that cap, you've got a lot of longtime coaches in this county who pretty much had maxed out years ago on their coaching supplements. And in order to retain those experienced coaches who have invested in and built these programs, the committee felt pretty strongly that that experience increment shouldn't be capped, shouldn't be limited.
Just scrolling down to here.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I'm just scrolling down to here, yes, every 5 years.
Right, it's every 5 years.
And then capped at 15
Yeah.
years.
Yep, and then, so they weren't able to get any more after that.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people here that have been here past that.
Oh, no, I remember, yeah.
So the other recommendation dealing with the supplement experience increment was, the years of in-county experience prior to a break-in service shall be counted toward the calculation of the experience increment. So a drama coach with 6 years in-county experience prior to a break-in service would be eligible for $200 in experience increment upon return to employment as the drama coach. So just because you had a break-in service doesn't mean your experience in that area
Right.
goes away. It
What
still has
had
value.
brought that up? Do you remember?
But, yeah, I do.
Okay.
That was like for, I think it was football.
It was
So a
football.
football coach, left for just a short amount of time, was a football coach for a long time, left, went out of county, because he had to for certain reasons, for
Okay.
family and things, and then wanted to come back to Citrus, came back to Citrus, went right back to football coaching, and had to go all the way back to, zero, even though he gave many years of experience. But we can see this in many things. It's
No,
like,
no,
let's
I-
say that someone has to stop because of a baby or
No,
something.
I remember us talking, I just could not remember, well,
Yeah.
okay, no, like I said, that's.
But there
going
could be
back to-
many, you know, really, I mean, there's some things, like, for instance, we have right now a basketball coach, who's a basketball coach, and I think it's basketball, And he had to stop because of a baby being born, and mom is sitting there going, no, you need to be home with me more, taking care of this baby, so he has to break his service in being a coach. But now he's lost his service, you know, years of service of coaching, even though the very next year, as soon as the baby's thriving and doing good again, he can become a coach again. But he's loyal to Citrus County. I think that should be, you know, we should value that. You value Citrus County, you value coming back here, you value in being a coach, you should have that same right as someone that's been here.
And again, these are those things that at the time, we weren't able to work out exactly what the cost would be, and the cost may be different this year, because people may have more experience this year, so, that might be something that we have to cost out before
Yeah.
we make a determination. And then we spent a lot of time on the extended season increment
Yeah.
athletics. A lot of time
I
on it.
recall, didn't we looked at other counties too, didn't we?
Yes, we
Yes.
We
did.
did, a lot of other counties, and they were banned, and there was a lot of different things that
A
came.
lot of if-then statements, right? So essentially, what it boiled down to for us is that individual athletic supplements shall be improved by 10% for each
Mhm.
level of competition beyond the district in an extended season, right? So
Mhm.
you make it from district to regional, that's 10% of your supplement added back in, right? You make it from regional to state, that's another 10% back in.
Correct.
And then we came up with a language that was superintendent approval. Cheerleading coaches and or band directors may receive a 5% improvement to supplements for participation in extended athletic seasons beyond the district level of competition, because presumably in some sports, they travel and go where the teams go. There's
But
still-
But with that, I think it should be something written in there, not just with superintendent approval, but something that shows that if they are traveling with that team, there should be that supplement, because if you're supposed to, now, if it's volunteer, and you wanna come, then I think it should be superintendent approval. But if they're being told, look, we need you to come with us, they should have that extra supplement, because they're giving up their time.
Well, I think we also talked about, well, I remember with band, we talked about, like, there is no district level in band. The season ends, you're at the
Right.
state competition, and it's a one-day thing, but that was a whole different, I know you're talking about traveling with the team.
Yeah.
But if I recall correctly, with cheerleaders, I think we were talking more about like with basketball, where if the games,
Yes.
you know what I mean, they're,
Yes.
you know, they may be pretty far away for a basketball game, so I think that's where it came to the superintendent's approval, are they going to that basketball?
Well, but that's why I think the language should be more towards, are they gonna go to that, not if they're gonna get that supplement. The superintendent approval for them to travel with the team, I think it should be clearer on that. Not with,
Okay.
superintendent approval to give money,
Okay,
receive a 5%.
Well, what you're saying, I now it's making sense, so with superintendent approval, if cheer coaches and or band directors travel, well, no, it doesn't even have to be travel, because if it's a home game.
Well, true,
Yeah,
but
home game's a little
even
different.
if they're participating,
Yeah.
if the superintendent
Yeah.
approves, you're gonna participate, then they should get that 5%. If the superintendent says, no, I don't think you really need to be there, then that's fine.
Yeah, I was thinking more like traveling, but I think, yeah, that makes sense, where if they're gonna participate or be required to go, it's, you know, it's another thing if 4 kids bring instruments and wanna, you know, show up at the game and play some trumpets, that's not the band showing up.
Spirit corner?
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be changed just a little bit, with superintendent approval to participate or something, you know, because then they can have that. Because if they're being told, hey, we really need you to be at this game, they
Mhm.
should get that supplement. If if the superintendent says, no, I don't think you should, then they, of course, are not gonna get that supplement, you know, because the superintendent doesn't want them to be there. Again, this is just, you can look at this language later, but
No, I know,
as it states right now, it's
No.
superintendent approval to receive the 5%, it's not to come with them or not, and I think that's that's like, okay, cheerleaders, you're coming, but yet you're not gonna get paid.
Yeah, and I think when we were doing this, I think that wasn't what we were thinking, but I would
No, I
understand,
agree.
I understand what you're saying. Now, we get down to the next one, appendix C. Lynn, we're here, Lynn Kirby, we're here, she'd be able to help me out with quite a few of these as far as the numbers go of people, but she couldn't be here tonight, but I'll get the numbers of those. In a
She
few
was
days.
very good at getting
Yeah.
us,
Yeah, that's what I mean, I
She was
don't even wanna
fast.
guess how many of those are.
Well, we kind of are looking at numbers from a year ago. The proposal for the recommendations from the differentiated pay would have come out to $65,104, so.
and that was based on Lynn Kirby's too.
Yeah, that's why I just wanna make sure that they're the same numbers now.
Right,
That,
yeah.
you know, I don't know if it's
check
gonna
into
be
that,
more. Yeah, I just, and I gotta get with Ms. Humboldt as well for the social workers. I don't think that changed, but,
Yeah, the two-part, the restoration of supplements for the school psychologist, social worker, and speech language, bring them all to the 3,800, was, the goal was for that improvement to occur before the 10% increase.
Right. Remember, we were trying to recruit then at that time?
oh, I'm sure we still are trying to recruit
Right.
psychologists.
So we were trying to say that that needed to be before the 10%.
And it's because right now, we had the two different categories where some are getting the 2,400 and some are getting the 38.
But now, I gotta find out, I'm not sure if social worker, if we have some getting 24 and some getting 38, I'll find out.
Well, I think what it was is someone's getting the lower, but they said that they were gonna be no longer, that those ones were the ones that were
That might be.
going away.
I know, like with social workers, she's a psychologist and SLPs, and I think we even had ESE specialists. There was, Stephanie, you probably know a little bit about that, where we had at some point, if you were here, you got this amount, anybody who came in after that got this amount.
Mhm.
And I know, people, I'm doing the same job as someone else, why is my supplement?
But I
different? Yeah.
think through nutrition, I think those were weeded out. I think this was their last year for that. I don't think we have any more of those.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know, we have to check, but
No,
I
yeah, I'll
think,
find out, yeah.
I think Lynn Kirby brought up that there was no,
Yeah,
there was only
I'll
maybe
check,
a
yeah, I'll
couple,
check.
or there was no more anymore.
We'll deal with Lynn tomorrow as well. Same thing with Kit. Want to make sure the number of social workers hasn't changed. I know at one point after Stillman Douglas, there was a huge push for us to have social workers. I don't see that going away with COVID-19 and the stress that these kids are under. I don't see that happening. I just want to make sure the numbers are the same that we had before. I haven't heard any different, but they don't always come tell me if they're a good unit or not.
And then we were trying to come up with some options for ways to address the advanced degree supplements to catch them up and make them a little more comparable to surrounding counties as well. And the first option was just a straight flat 10% like we've done in the other schedules. And we figured that at the time that was at about $81,000 to do that. The other was an incremental increase, which over 5 years would get us closest to being competitive in terms of the advanced degree supplements. So for like the master's degree, each year would be a commitment to increase $100,
No, I remember. Yeah.
right? But the supplement committee put those forward as sort of an either or kind of conversation to be had by the bargaining teams to determine what is the right way to go about addressing it.
And I wanna say something about this. I know that this is, one place that is not on the high scale for the district. I know the district here, not really cares, but understands that the athletic supplement needs to be increased. But now the push is lately that I have been in all the committees on, is advancement in higher order mathematics and everything on math, so it's been mainly my discussion of math. And so the push has been more for the students to take higher classes. Elementary, they're pushing to go higher. Middle school, they're pushing to go higher. High school, they're pushing to go higher. So there's more need for dual enrollment teachers, more need for your AP teachers. And so therefore, you're gonna need more teachers that have masters and higher degrees. So if that is the push for the district, for students to excel higher in their classes, then you're gonna want your teachers to take those higher courses. You're gonna want them to take those masters in their subject area, not masters in, to become a principal in education.
No offense.
No, but I'm talking in mathematics, your
Yes.
science, your English. You're gonna want those higher so that way they can take those dual enrollments and those AP classes. And so that might be something that you might wanna look at to further getting, if you want students to advance higher, you're gonna need those teachers to advance higher as well. Just putting
And-
that out there.
oh, no,
'Cause I
no,
know
I-
that's the push right now,
no,
because
I
I'm in a
hear what
vertical alignment.
I hear what you're saying, I'm just looking at it and when we start talking about all of them together, the dollars start adding up.
I know.
And, and that, like I said, that's the business degree, I mean, starting to come up, I'm like, oh, and I'm getting a little bit higher. No, but I remember we had this conversation.
It's the
You
pay it all now
Yeah,
and pay less
well,
deal for your car,
well, I
or
mean, but the-
finance it
but we
and
go-
pay more over time.
But if we combine it with the other one that we talked about, that we need to move up as well, the
Yes.
coaching supplements, those other
Yes.
supplements. And this is not a put off, it's just, at some point or another, we talk about this a lot, there's the pot of money, right? And there's this,
Right.
and how much, do we look at doing it, a little bit this year and a little bit more the next year, do we, so yeah, that's,
Well, okay, so my thing is I understand, I totally get it, believe me. And a lot of times, this is my feeling on it, as a mathematic person. I think a lot of students stay in school because they have something else to do, such as sports. So I think that's very important, and I think we should increase our supplement for our coaches to advance it so our students stay in school. So this is my caveat. Don't advance them, don't push the advancement of students to move into a higher course until you can pay teachers to also advance themselves in a higher mathematics or higher math, higher English, and so forth. Don't push the students then until you're able to pay, because that supplement there, that advanced degree supplement, is also as old as it is
yeah,
for the
oh, I
coaches.
know that, yeah.
So if this is the year that we cannot do everything, this is the year that we would do the supplements for coaching, because to me, that's how a kid stays in school. Yes, let's do that. But then don't advance the students so quickly until you're able to advance the salary of those, to where we get more teachers that are dual enrollment capable, advanced but not capable. That's my 2 cents.
Do our dual enrollment teachers, I know that AP teachers get paid a bonus for scores.
Their test,
From the
if
state,
they
right?
get, yeah, if
Yeah,
they get,
I don't
They get
understand the exact
scores.
breakdown of it, but
if they get scores, yeah, they do.
$50 for every past assessment.
Right,
Okay.
that's for AP.
Calculate those.
Not for
So,
dual.
and our CAVE courses offer the same kind of thing, right? So, students who complete industry certifications,
Yep.
there's a bonus paid to them. Is there any sort of anything for the dual enrollment teachers?
No, there's not.
It's advanced.
And they need an
placement,
advanced degree.
International baccalaureate and industry certification.
So,
that teach dual enrollment right now? Yeah, that,
I will tell you, we don't have a lot.
I'm
There's
thinking
not a lot of
we don't
teachers that are
there.
dual enrollment, that's why our dual enrollment score, that's why our dual enrollment is going down, because we don't have enough teachers. So if we wanna increase that, because we wanna increase more students going to the advanced classes, then we need to increase their pay to give, an incentive. I'll sit there and take higher courses, because it costs me more to go to college, which does not, our salaries do not compensate for higher courses. But I'm also though, like I said, I know we can't do it all at the same time, so I'm for the sports right now.
No, yeah, I'm just trying to think, some of what we run into, I imagine, is we probably have students that go out to CF and take our dual enrollment courses out there. Are any of those students, well, here, you might know, you might deal with a lot of them as well, do any of them do online dual enrollment at CF?
But our dual enrollment, we're losing our dual enrollment students to go to CF.
That's what I mean. That's
Which
what I
are
mean.
teachers that are going there, because they can have a bachelor's degree to teach like algebra. But if you want your students to be taking those classes in your school, if you want those
I
students,
know, I'm just
we need
trying,
those higher
I'm just trying to find out if
higher
kids are
numbers.
doing that now virtually.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so, what was perhaps
There's
in
a
the term
large number
before
of
of having to go out there, now they can just do it virtually and have to, okay.
But at
But
the
they're
same
still
time,
being
are
taught
they
by
being
a CF
successful
teacher.
virtually?
Right,
sorry, what?
and they're still being taught by a CF teacher, so they're still, even though it's virtually, they might be sitting in our building,
Yeah,
but
that's what I was wondering, where before they had to, we used to take a bus, have a bus that went out there, I don't know if we still do. We used to have, a bus took them out there, they had, there were a couple steps they had to do to get out there. Now,
now it's all
iPad.
virtual.
right, okay, that's
But
what.
I
that's
just
what
know
I'm
that the high schools are constantly looking for dual enrollment teachers.
Mhm.
There's always these emails out there. Do you teach dual enrollment? Are you able to teach dual enrollment? Do you have a master's degree? Do you have a doctor's degree? There's always these emails, so if that is something that is needed, then that's something we need to look at, because I will tell you, so I have, just personal, I'm not saying that I'm gonna do it, but I have my master's degree only because when I was first starting in college, I just wanted to learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. So I went and got my, I can't even remember what you call it, which you guys don't honor anymore.
National board.
That's-
Thank you, national boards, and I got my master's at the same time. And then I stopped because I got tired. But then I've been thinking about going back so that way I can get my dual enrollment. But I'm looking at it going, God, it's gonna cost me this much money, I'm only gonna make this much more, I'm gonna owe more in college debt than what I get paid. Is it really worth it?
Yeah, I think there's,
So I stopped.
I think specifically, there's a lot of people that go back because they want to, go into administration. For teachers that wanna stay in the classroom, there's not a lot of incentive to add a
Exactly.
master's degree because it's a bad.
Right,
it's a
exactly,
investment.
there's more money when you become an administrator, but there's not more money when you go take your master's and get a dual
I mean,
enrollment.
no, high school principals, right?
So,
How many?
so I'm fine with not moving forward, but then we should not move our students forward until we have enough teachers to compensate for it.
So I,
Vicki, just so you know, I'm emailing the high school principals right now to ask how many dual enrollment teachers you have at your school. I won't get an answer tonight, but, I hope to get one, but you just wanna know how many they have at the school, not how many can teach it.
Well, I think we should have both,
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'd rather just send one email out and then
because I will tell you, there's not a lot.
Well, and CF is kind of tricky about which ones they will let us teach depending on which courses they'll allow to be taught.
That's true too, how many do you need?
Let's become a long email here in just a second.
Help them go to your campus.
But I just know that we just got an email asking if you teach, because they need dual enrollment teachers.
we
So-
could almost do an entire bargaining session just on dual enrollment, honestly, because I think we have to factor in, what are the costs associated with the students who are taking classes, the dual enrollment classes from CF? Does the district not have to pay for a course that they're taking in CF?
Well, if it's our teacher, sure we have to pay something anyway, don't we? Because they're gonna get credit from CF, they're not gonna put that.
We cover the expense of the textbooks and things like that.
Yeah, so occurs to me that, the degree supplements, I do think a lot of the impetus around discussing improving the degree supplement was partly that. How do you encourage and make sure you have people waiting in the wings to take on these advanced coursework
Or
assignments?
in the classroom, not for becoming
No,
an administrator.
But also the advanced degree
Thanks, Rob.
supplements. The
Bye, Rob, have fun at your birthday party.
I will, thank you.
Those
Tell
advanced,
Carmen I said happy birthday.
I
those
will,
advanced
and
degree
happy birthday to you.
supplements,
Thank you.
helped us in addressing the concerns we pay for those specialists, the school psychologists and the SLP who they have to have advanced degrees to do their job, so bumping the supplement for their advanced degree increases their pay too. That was a big part of the push for conversation about looking at those particular supplements, as we were having difficulty retaining people in those positions and paying them anything that's comparable. So, like the master's degree in Sumter County is $2,667.
Did that go up recently?
Nope, this is as of before them passing this year's.
Okay.
If you look at the advanced degree supplements for years and the coaching supplement for years, and again, understand, if we have to decide between the two, I agree with advancing supplement for the
athletics.
coaches, because we need our students to stay in their schools. But if you look at past, the supplement for our degrees have always been the lowest. They have never, ever been higher. We have always been the lowest and never moved. Where your coaches have always been right there, exactly the same. It's only because they advanced it so far in advance years ago that we were so far in advance way before, and now everyone's catching up to us. Advanced degrees have never been above, never, and they have never moved. They've always stayed. So if this is not the year, it needs to be addressed for next year.
I do think, what we might need to do is go back to the recommendations and cost them again, just to make sure that we're still talking the same numbers. I can't imagine that the athletic and academic supplement increased by 10% is actually gonna be much more at all.
The coaching one, I don't see it changing a whole lot, to be honest with you. The other one, that would be kind of a guess right this second. I don't know how many people have added that. I can get with HR, should be able to, payroll should be able to pull that. Well, the coach one, like I said, I think we went through and found the number of coaches at each level, at each school, and kind of think that one should not,
That was pretty accurate.
plus or minus one or two here and there. I think that one is a number I think is about as accurate as it can get.
Can I ask if we ever got the review request on, that's down below?
Give me just a second, I'm writing it down.
Sorry.
No.
You know, I hate that when I'm trying to write things down.
Well, no,
and people keep talking.
I'll lose track of it. So how many degree supplements do we currently have? So that way, and by category, just to. Most of them are gonna be masters, I realize that, but it's good to know what the others are as well. All right, I'm sorry, Vicki. You're out.
No, it's just, I read ahead in the review request, because this is from the committee, all supplements, and Val might be able to answer this, because I can't remember.
There were supplements that were being awarded for things that
Agrees, like
showing
football.
in the roster as a supplement paid for flag football or Breeze, but there's no such thing in our
Yeah,
supplement.
Breeze has
schedule.
been around for 20 years, get a supplement, yeah.
So is the question, do we need to update the schedule, the supplement schedule, so that it includes these things?
Yeah,
I would say so. I mean, I don't know what the rest of the committee feels, but I mean, Breeze was around, Vic, I think you gave us a little bit of history, it was
yeah,
around
it
before
was around a
John,
long
right?
time. Right, but the thing is, it's not in the contract.
I know, I'm just saying, but I mean, it's been around a long time, I don't know where some of them
Well,
went
she
to.
would before me.
Oh, it's been there before, it's been there, it's my 19th year, it's been there before that.
Yeah, I remember my first year at IMS, Breeze came over and performed. I thought, well, this is great, look at these kids, and I
It
didn't,
was before Adele.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, because it wasn't John, so I mean, it's been a long time, so some of these, and like flag football, I could not tell you why flag football's not in there, because that isn't that old.
No,
I think
it's
I
not,
was
it's
in
only like
Citrus.
3 or 4 years, isn't
No, it's
it?
about 6. I was in
6 years
Citrus when
now?
they started it.
Jeez.
I was in Citrus, so I had, Vicky, I'm not that old yet. But,
As I recall though, those were the only two that we saw, because you pulled all of them, right? And we were looking at the spreadsheet together, and those were the only ones that we saw that were like, that's just not in the contract, so we might just need to insert that.
yeah, and like you said, if we have an appendix B that is updated each year, which I think we would need to do whenever we change it, especially if we can make it a percentage, to make it accurate each year so it's readable, people can understand what it says.
Maybe at the beginning of each year,
Yeah.
sit there and look at
Well,
that.
as soon as we get done with the contract, right?
There you go,
We say,
yeah.
okay, here's what this is, we agree that this is what that is,
Run the calculation.
yeah,
There you go.
kind of together,
Yep.
and have them, maybe not the final one, but yeah, the flag football one, I don't have an answer for that one. I really don't know how that got
I
on.
really think it just started, I just think it started and it just never got
Well, let me ask you this,
suited.
was it ever considered an intramural? We didn't go outside of the county, I don't know if we do now, I'm gonna ask my high school people. Do we go outside of the, I don't know.
Do you know if we
We
go
did
outside
when
the
I was
county?
there. We played the other schools here in the county, so I wonder if it started as like an intramural, and that may be how it got
Maybe.
started, guessing, I'm totally guessing here. I could ask one of the.
I know
athletic
Ashley Cooper was coach for a while at Citrus, when it first started, she
Yep.
was the coach at my
Um,
school.
But I know maybe that, because I don't think we don't, do we play anyone outside?
I have no clue.
This year I know it's been weird, but I don't think we did, so I wonder about if that's how it started. I'll ask around to the 3 high school ADs, actually the 2, because I don't think Bobby Pillardo was around when it started. I'll ask Ron Allen and Larry Bishop.
Larry Bishop.
Um,
Well, Larry Bishop would know for all of
yeah,
them.
yeah, because that was, you're right, that was a weird one, that wasn't on there. Breeze really caught me off guard because I knew that had been around before I got here. How that never got put in there. And we had, choral was in there, drama coach was in there, FFA's in there, if they had ag, I mean, but not,
I wonder if
Breeze.
it's because it's unique to Citrus High,
what's that?
Breeze.
No, but I thought the others, I thought Crystal River had
Yeah,
something
I
that's.
thought the other high school has it now.
Well,
One
we
other
call
high
it
school.
Breeze Supplement, but I thought there was another supplement, because I thought another high school, who was in here? It might have been Lacanto, it might have been Ron Allen, might have mentioned that they had something in the past as well. But I think it became Breeze, because that's what it was at
I think
Citrus High.
Citrus calls it Breeze, but I think there's another, like you said,
Yeah.
there was another school that called it something else.
Yeah,
but
Stephanie,
it's
but
still-
we
like
run
a
into the same
chorus.
thing, and I think it was Ron Allen said, no, we had something like that years ago. I'm like,
We need to check into that then,
Yeah.
and we need to see, and then even if it's just to one school, it still needs to be mentioned
Yeah.
in case it goes into another school. It still needs to be written in language.
all right, I'm gonna ask payroll about that one, if there's one for other
Yeah.
schools.
Well, because didn't we have we have a standalone for dive coach, right? There's only one dive
That's,
coach in the
that's a
district.
whole thing there, yeah, because I think this year we had one kid. We have like one county dive team, so all 3 high schools.
So is Breeze one of those standalone,
Well,
there's
no,
only one in
because-
the county?
Because Breeze is also, it's just a Citrus High thing, kids from other schools can't be in Breeze. Whereas like the dive coach is, I think we only have one kid this year, but other years we've had a couple from, so each school kicks in for that one. I need to find out.
We'll need to look at that, and then we need to look at language from other districts, how they handle those singletons, maybe, and to make sure we're capturing it in the language that if any other school decides to have it, they can have that, and it's,
Because I remember asking Stacy Taylor about Breeze, and she said, it's just a Breeze supplement. And I said, what do you mean? And she said,
well, how's it paid?
well, that's what it was labeled before she started here. And so it's been around for a long time. I said, okay, this is gonna be a deep dive.
Because it's definitely not through the school.
No.
So which means the district is paying for
Yeah,
it,
it's a
so
supplement
that's
that's
why it's
been-
gotta be in the
yeah.
contract.
It's a supplement that's been around a long time, so let's
Right.
just find out if there's one for other schools, if it's just unique to Citrus High, is unique to Citrus High. Is it available to other schools? If it is, then it
Well,
should be called the
even
degree
if,
supplement.
even if it is only Citrus High, it needs to be available
Oh,
to
yeah.
the other schools.
That's what I mean, but it shouldn't be called the breeze supplement, because they can call it whatever they want, because they are
Right, exactly.
hurricanes.
I think we remember having that conversation too.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember that at the flag football one, that still perplexes me, because I was there when that started, and I didn't think twice about it.
I think you're right, I think it's more of a, it was intramural, I think that's why, and I think that's why it wasn't really, you know, I really do, I think that's probably why, because it was a new thing that they started, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I'm
new.
wondering, all right, I'm gonna talk with Coach Bishop about it. I have a feeling this had to do with gender equity at some point, so I don't know if it started as intramurals and then moved to something else,
Mhm.
or maybe it's, I don't know. I'm gonna have to, I know he'll know the history of that. Like I said, I remember I was there when it started, because I knew a lot of the kids who were out there, and it was a lot rougher than I thought flag football was gonna be, I'll just put it that way. I was not prepared for flag football like that. So yeah, I'll ask about that, and I'll ask, this is a payroll question though, about Breeze. Let's look into the payroll history now. No problem there on that. Thanks, I'll deal with Stacy on that one. Okay. I've already emailed the high school teachers about the dual enrollment. How many do they have? How many can teach it, and how many do you need? So as soon as I get some answers on that, I'll let you all know, on that one.
Anything else?
Okay, I'm sorry, this last one here, can you please refresh my memory, supplemental amounts inconsistent with the years of eight county experience? I wanna make sure. I understand.
There were a couple that the actual amount of the supplement didn't match up to any of the language in the contract, and so we were trying to figure out why the odd number, where did the odd number come from?
Okay,
It was a handful of very specific people receiving supplement amounts that were
I don't remember.
odd,
I'm
Like,
trying to remember.
not what
If
everybody
you
else.
remember who they are, can you please let me know?
Yeah, I'll pull the roster back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, if you just let me know who they are, and I'll get with
Okay,
payroll and find out, and if there's a reason for it, I'll get you an explanation, I'll make sure the employee gets an explanation as well.
okay.
Without, I vaguely remember this, so. Okay. Anything else on that?
I don't think so. We've got one other item, that we've asked about at the bargaining sessions a couple of times, and we are still getting, inquiries from members of both bargaining units regarding a voluntary sick leave donation program. And, we're hearing examples of individual employees who had to be out due to cancer or whatever, or a family member that they're having to care for with a very serious illness, and people want to be able to help, and they feel like those are days that, you know, they can accumulate for payout down the road if they want to just hold on to them. But wouldn't it make more sense to offer the opportunity to share those days? And we know that there are a number of districts that have already implemented voluntary sick leave donation programs. It is still something that we're interested in problem solving with the district, see if we can make it work. What I understand of how they work out over time is that they don't end up typically creating greater expense. The district already has to allocate for the number of days that people are earning anyway, and they're already having to budget for payout of those days potentially. So we're talking about establishing a process by which people can share.
And I don't see where the expense would be the long-term expense, because as you said, unless the difference is between someone who's gonna get, 15% payout because they've been here for 5 years versus someone who's at 90%, doesn't
Or I
take-
donate a
yeah.
day to an administrator,
Yeah,
and
I
it
mean,
pays out at his rate instead of mine.
We still, with our regular sick leave bank, that's done in that respect as well. We have this many hours that are donated, and the pay is done that way. My issue that I'm thinking right now is sick time is a property right for people. It is earned, and as you said, it's of value to them because without it, they could be without pay. And with that property right, even if they volunteer to give it up, it's still a property right. And I can tell you as the person who has to make the phone calls to the people in sick leave bank who do not get sick leave bank, there's anger, frustration, there's a lot of emotion on the other end. There are people who, whenever we say, hey, we need a day for the sick leave bank because we've expended this many days, and it's not even COVID related, it's people with horrific illnesses, this cancer, that cancer, someone broke a leg in 6 places and they're in traction and they've used, a month and a half of sick time and I can tell you, people, whenever you tell them, hey, we need a day, every time we say that, I get calls from people saying, well, I don't want my day going for this, and I don't want my day going for, I'm like, well, we don't determine it that way.
That's kind of the beauty of the voluntary sick leave donation program,
Well,
though, is
but-
that I get to decide
Yeah.
whether or not.
Well, like I
I'm
say,
giving up my days.
that part happens, but then whenever someone says, all right, Kyle, I'm gonna pick on you because you're closer. If Kyle says, hey, I need, 6 days for this, then it's gonna be, the way I envision it, is that the request is gonna end up, unfortunately, probably in human resources, and then they have to somehow communicate that out to everyone. This person wants 10 sick days. I'm sure there's HIPAA things involved that we can't explain as to exactly why, especially on a public record email. 10 sick days, people who are volunteering to give those sick days up, there's the tracking of, or this person's getting them from this person. But if it's a property right, whenever someone signs up for the sick leave bank, they have to fill out a form and send it to us with a signature, and we keep it. Whenever someone's giving up a sick day for these voluntary sick leave banks, are they just shooting an email and saying, hey, they can have my day, or are they signing something?
It's a form, there would have to be.
Yeah, it's a form.
Now, that's what I'm asking. We do that now with, if you're transferring to a family member, the form, you fill it out, attach it to the doc.
It's the exact same
Yeah,
process.
the doctor's note and stuff like that. And that can be fairly labor intensive on the HR side whenever you may have 15, 20 people asking a week about that, trying to track it. So that's my concern, just
So the concern
imagine.
is that the cost comes in and is associated with the labor that's required
Yeah,
to
it's
manage it.
not the cost of a day for,
Day, right.
a day for Kyle, a day for me kind of thing. Sick leave bank, we already have that. So it's not, that cost I'm understanding. It's the labor that goes
Process.
along with the process. Yes.
She had, I'll let her go
Okay.
first and then I'll go. Thank you.
Me personally, I've been a member of the sick bank from the beginning, and I did have to access it when I did break a leg in many places.
Oh, I
So,
seriously wasn't talking about her. I was just making that up. I'm sorry, Terry.
That's
I don't
okay.
see you.
so I'm a big proponent and encourage people to do that because you just don't know what's gonna happen. And it worked marvelously, I was very happy with it. So personally, I think for me, that sick bank does work. I guess what I do worry about is the inequity if we tell people we're not going to allow a voluntary sick bank because of labor, and it's not equitable to people who don't have family members that work for the district.
Okay. Maybe what you're saying. Yes, ma'am.
And then my thing is, I came from Hernando County, which does this.
Mhm.
And in Hernando County, they worked, I have to tell you, I think Citrus County is, much better than Hernando County, so I'm flabbergasted that Citrus County cannot sit there and figure out how to do it, because Hernando County does it just fine. Because I'm able to give, when I was at Hernando County, I was able to give my sick leave to my friend who had cancer and needed it. I was able to give that because I never was sick, so I would had so much sick leave that I could take off a whole year. So I gave her some of my sick leave time, so therefore, Hernando County worked it out just fine. I filled out a form, I gave up those sick leaves, and when I came here to Citrus County, those sick leaves did not follow me here. I don't understand why Citrus County cannot do what Hernando County's doing. I don't get it, because I have to say, I really believe we are much better county than Hernando County. So if they're able to do it, why can't we do it? And for instance, my friend from here, she passed away from cancer. And I would have loved to give her my sick leave. Now, fortunately, she had teachers, she had family members that were teachers that were able to give her sick leave because they were family members. But if they were not her family members, if they were not teachers, what would she have done? You know, I mean, we should be able to donate those because you're only allowed so much even from the sick leave bank. And then after that, you're on your own. And when you have cancer, when you have something like that, you're out sometimes for days because you cannot be a part of, you cannot sit there and function in school.
Oh, I know.
So we should be helping. If I choose, and again, you kept saying it's you know, that like it's my choice, it's my sick leave, it's my sick leave, then we should be able to give up that sick leave if we choose to. Because that, yes, ultimately at the end of when I retire, I lose out on money. But did I help my friend? Yes, I helped my friend. So if I help my friend, I feel better. And again,
Well, could y'all give me a copy of what, that form that they use at Hernando or Pasco? I know you said before that.
well, Hernando County, I know for sure,
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
where I
yeah,
came
Can
from.
you give me a copy of that?
I can share you all of Pasco's, including the language that was negotiated to ensure that people wouldn't deplete their personal leave time so low that they would be unable to take care of themselves if they came down with the flu, right? So part of what we can do is build into the language, safety net for people not overextending themselves.
Well,
right?
we already had to do that with sick leave bank because we have people who went in a drop, cashed out all their time, stayed in sick leave bank, and then hit the sick leave bank for 20, 40, or 60 days. So now they have to keep 9 of those days. So yeah, if you can send me that language from Hernando or Pasco or one of those counties, that would be nice. I'd like to be able to look at that, so we can have discussions about it. So I can see exactly, mainly like the form.
The forms.
That would be very nice if I could see that as well. I assume the one in Pasco is in their contract.
I don't think the form is in
No, I
their
mean
contract, but
the language.
the language
Is it in Hernando's, Vicky, do you know?
The form is not, but
The
the
language-
language is. The
language,
form
okay.
is something that they have, it says in language that you have to, something about that you have to sign a form or something to
Yeah,
donate or
it's
something.
the creation of the form is the, you know, under the umbrella of HR's responsibility, but, I will say that in Pasco, they implemented it so that the request does go out of HR, and the person who's making the request has to sign off on the exact verbiage of the request is for this purpose. So there's not a, given up information that is being, you know, supposed to be kept secret.
They're
And
completely aware of it and they know it.
and it goes out twice, the request goes out twice, and it's like an announcement goes 1 week, the list of people is there, so-and-so needs such and such days for such and such reason. Okay, I fill out the form that's attached and send it off and donate my day or whatever, and then there's a process by which if that day, my day, isn't used, comes back to me, is returned to me.
Wow.
So that ends up becoming a way to prevent the backside of it, which is, you know, Kyle asks for 10 days and he ends up with 40 days. And now he ended up with more than he needed and now he can cash those out.
Well, my question is, no, those days we do that with sick leave bank. If they didn't get approved for 20 days and they use 19, they get 19, you know, they get 19. The other day stays in the bank. So, quick question on that. So, Kyle, I'm sorry, you're sitting close. He asked for 10 days. He gets X number donated. I'm assuming it's the first ones that offer, the first
In
ones,
order,
probably
yes.
like that, all right. But what if he only ends up using 9 of those? This is the
So
same,
then the 10
same process that goes
Yeah.
to the person who was the last person to, Okay, just curious,
Yeah.
because that's, with it not being a bank, with it being a bank, it just goes back into the bank, that's easy for me to
Yeah, it just
understand.
comes back
There's
to me.
tracking,
Yeah,
there's
that's what,
tracking
well,
involved.
that's why I was wondering if
Yeah.
20 people
Yes.
offered,
Yes,
and 10,
Well, it depends who gave.
yeah, that's why
Like, for
I'm,
instance, when I gave to my friend, she didn't take all of them because
yeah,
she passed away, but I ended up getting back that she didn't.
yeah, that's why I didn't know who it went back to, but if it's in the order that it went, if
yes.
in the order it came back, I'm sorry, Terry.
When you guys are looking, can you also look at the priority of how that falls, if they have sick banks, like if
Which order it
Kyle's
pulls
the
from.
victim here, if Kyle's a member of the sick bank and he requests, what's the priority?
Yes. So I think, I believe.
You know what I'm saying? Do we
I'll
want
look
people to
into it
ask
again.
before they go to the sick
Yeah.
bank, or you go to
It's
the
supposed
sick
to be
bank
the
and
sick
then you
leave, I
ask?
think.
or-
I'll look into it again, but, I believe that the order that's established in Pasco is you have to utilize your own sick leave first. Then you have to exhaust whatever's been donated, and then you can go to the sick bank.
Oh,
So
I
it
thought,
actually helps preserve the sick bank for the most catastrophic needs, I think. But I'll double check.
yeah, maybe you're right.
No, but Terry, that is a very good question, because.
No, you're absolutely correct, because the reason why, again, was because
And
Hernando
not
County
everybody's a
didn't
member
want
of the sick
to,
bank either.
deplete their sick leave bank. So if that's what, you're absolutely correct, that's how Hernando County did it. You did your sick leave first, then you took any voluntary, then you went to,
And then if you needed additional days and the voluntary days were out the sick bank, if you were.
Now,
members
I
of
can
the
tell
sick
you,
bank.
sick leave bank currently states that you have to go 10 days unpaid before you can, get engaged from the sick leave bank.
So then
if
how
you-
does that work if you're?
Well, that's what I'm saying, if I've gotten 10 days, I've asked for 10 days, and Vicky donated 10 days, I haven't gone unpaid any days yet.
yeah,
So
but
that's fine.
you're starting to use someone else's,
I know,
which
but-
means that you're already in that 10-day of, you're,
And I think that's
So
what we
you're
just
in-
need that
you're in where
language,
you're not
so we have
getting
it all at
paid.
once.
Yes.
instead someone else is voluntarily giving you your pay, so actually you're not getting paid, even though you are. So that's how they took care of it, is, so, as soon as my sick leave started getting donated, they're now in that, where they're not getting paid from their own, I'm donating, so they're still being labeled as not getting paid in their own. Do
I
you see
just
what I'm
wanna
saying?
make sure
I
when we
get
get the
that.
language, we get
And I
everything we're
think,
gonna need.
definitely
to
you need the
finalize it.
language to look at it, but it's, all I know is it really works, it really worked, it made, and it wasn't used a lot, because people, a lot of times,
People don't have to ask others, and usually when people come to ask, it's, they're in need. And it's usually after a colleague has said, can I please donate days to you, will you please put in a request so that I can donate?
Exactly,
days?"
it's not the person coming to you, you're usually going to the person going, oh my gosh, let me give you this, I can't believe you're in this dire state.
But I will pull, language examples of the forms, and I will make
Thank
sure
you.
that we clarify order of operations there, so, so that we can take a look at it. I do think that, I have the most experience in conversation around voluntary sick leave with Pasco County, and I do think their HR department kind of has got it down to a science in terms of a step-by-step process, that tracking is pretty much foolproof. You know, it runs pretty cleanly. So, we wouldn't continue to ask if we didn't have people continuing to ask us.
Oh, no, I imagine that you do, I'm just trying to think of how, because what we run into, and I'm just being honest here, is that something like this gets implemented, it's added to the list of a department that already has, and I'm not in that department, but I was, a lot of things on their plate every single day. And then if something were to not fall just right, blame tends to fall on them. And I don't want that to be the case whenever we're asking them to take on more stuff. And I know you say it may not happen that often, but these things come in spurts. Like any day that I'm meeting with CCEA,
Sure.
ever though the wheels fall off the bus, it does. That's what I was like, oh, thank goodness we're meeting this afternoon, because right up until you came in, I was putting out fires with other stuff. I'm like, these people know what's on my calendar. So that's why I'm just trying to think.
Can we also look at then who is in charge of doing those things? And if need be, if there's really a great need for this, if this is something that we're afraid for, because I'm all for that, you're right. I do not want our support staff to have more work on them, because that's usually who's the one that's doing this. I do not want our secretaries having more work
Okay.
on them that they already have. Well, then, just like the new position that you guys just got at the school board member, at the school board meeting, why not have another new position for that?
Well, that's not a new position.
Oh, I understand, it's an old position that you just,
It's an empty position.
that, right, that you just changed and gave a little bit more salary
One
to.
of those, but
So-
one
So we could do the same thing, because guaranteed you have a list of positions already in there, because I've seen them before, that are blanket, that are empty, we could always fill that position,
problem
if
is you-
need
The
be.
problem you run into is that it needs to be a department that has access to, people's records to know what the sick leave, how many sick days they
Oh,
have and stuff
I
like that.
agree, but
Yeah.
that's something that could be done, I mean, other districts are doing it, again.
But to add another position is just.
Oh, I'm not saying add another position, I guarantee you probably have a position, because it always seems like we always have, whenever you guys add the new position, which has already been there, it's already been there, you add it. So,
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I know, it's
Like in my office?
confusing, it's confusing.
No, my office, it was a title change.
Okay, all right, then there could be a title change, because guaranteed, I'm sure there are positions that are unfulfilled right now, unfilled, that could be a change in title. I'm just saying, if that was the case, right now, I think you need to look at how Hernando County does it, how, Pasco County does it. I know for a fact that Hernando County does it, and then see if it's more work for someone, if it's more work for someone, then perhaps maybe what can we do to create
I can reach out to
that
the
position?
HR department in Hernando
So,
and Pasco and ask
But
to speak to
I
the
just
people who
want
deal
to go
with
back to that real quick. Whenever you say create that position,
Not create, sorry,
okay,
take a position that's already there and change the title.
so spend more money to create the voluntary sick leave.
You might need to, I'm just saying, you never
You
know,
just have
I'm just saying you might not have to, I'm just saying if you have to, just like you did with this other position, you change position and you had to give this person more money and things like that, so, I mean, it is being done, things like that are done, positions are filled, there are positions that are filled and change title, and you're given, different things to it. Because whenever I look at the list of all the unfulfilled positions of Citrus County, there is quite a few, right? There's a few. And then you guys fill them as needed. So this could be one that gets filled and just change the title. Yes, there is a cost to that, but you already budget for those unfulfilled positions. As was stated at the school board meeting, I heard it, you're already budgeting for those unfulfilled positions, so.
No, what you heard was, and I just want to clear the air with everybody.
Okay.
I had someone working in my office who took another job in the district that paid more money. They were working as a district secretary. Position they took was higher, and I don't blame them one bit. I was happy to give them a recommendation. I was sorry to lose them. Right now, if you go into my office, he can tell you the office right outside of mine is dark, empty, bare bones because the person's gone. It's empty. It was a district secretary. We asked for an employee benefits analyst because the person we have doing those jobs is not going to be doing just secretarial work. So the job needed to meet the needs of the department, which means the person needed to be paid commensurate with what that job was going to be. Because if not, we put another district secretary in there, come a year, they're gonna find another job somewhere else in the district that pays a little more money because they know how to do these processes. So it wasn't that it's a position that was budgeted and empty, it was a position that was filled until.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right, but what I'm saying is it can be done, there are positions that can be filled, so I apologize, but you are right.
Okay, I'm
And-
just saying, like, my thing is, and it's not my department, but I can tell you most of these things do fall in human resources.
Yes,
And if you go into the area of human resources, I call the bullpen, we've got people working out of a closet in there, I mean, it is packed pretty tight. We've had a couple people working up there literally at the front desk as you walk in. We've got somebody working over here. So to add another position, to add another body up there is gonna be a challenge. But they need to be working with the people who are in payroll, who are working with sick time all the time, working with people who have time off, people who don't have time off, people who are going unpaid. So they're gonna need to work up there. So even beyond that, when we start talking about physical space, there's not a lot of physical space for that to occur. So it's probably gonna be more work onto someone who's already there.
And that means more pay for that person.
And again, that would be an additional cost. So
I don't
that's-
have a problem with giving more pay as long as they're, you know.
Okay, but no, we were talking, but that's what I was coming back to, where the additional cost that comes with this. So we just need to be aware
Right.
that there possibly could be an additional cost, probably would be an additional cost with this. Not on the end of where we're
Cost
paying
of
out sick
days,
time.
right.
Yeah, that's, like I said, with sick leave bank, I understand that, you know, how that goes. I'm just talking about the interim cost that goes with there, the labor.
So I have a question then, for the person that's dealing with sick leave bank right now, is that their only job, or are they doing something else at the same time?
That's part of what they do. That's part of their job responsibilities on their,
What else are they doing?
they do workers' comp. They also are working with our insurance policies. They work with our adjusters, and that's quite a bit of what we do. We do have a lot of insurance policies. We do have a lot of claims that come in for different aspects of that. Workers' comp tends to be quite a bit of it, not just the injuries here, but the follow-up with the appointments and things like that that come after that.
So,
Sick leave bank is not very often. I shouldn't say that, because in the last 4 weeks, we've had 5 applications.
so if we find out that the person in Hernando or Pasco is pretty much doing the same job responsibility, including this responsibility, and then we look at their salary compared, now of course we know that Hernando County pays more already, and, so does Pasco County pays, no? Okay, alright, she's saying no. Alright, so we can look at that comparatively and see if the job is still the same with roughly around the same payment, that could be something that could be put on there with maybe perhaps a small increase, or I don't know, that's something we need to look at. So I think Valerie needs to also look at what is their job description, to see what exactly are they all doing besides just this.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
inquire who's responsible for the work of managing and facilitating the program in Hernando and Pasco. And that'll give us I do think that the more we invest in creating a good process, the less work it becomes, right? So hopefully if we do the process right, it doesn't become this, you need a separate office for somebody to sit in just to manage this. But I'll gather what I can and I'll bring it back to you. Can we talk about something that's probably a little bit easier?
No, we can give it a shot, yeah.
At some point along the way this year, and I don't know the whole backstory, but at some point along the way this year, perhaps because of COVID restrictions, limitations, employees who at one time were permitted into athletic events without charge, started being charged to attend.
Yep.
And
That had to do with capacity restrictions.
I thought it did.
It did.
Okay.
Now, some of that, we do have some events that have always been free, but those are like tennis, where you're outside and you're able to spread out. But even like softball, they're only allowed to have so many people. They even mark off, I believe, like some areas on the grass where like families can sit together, so they aren't all in the bleachers. Softball's a little different. People bring lawn chairs and stuff like that. Same thing with baseball. But that's where a lot of those fall into. They are capacity restrictions, and the rule's has to be, you have to have a ticket to come in. We can't just allow people to come in without a ticket due to that.
So is there anything that prohibits staff who for years have volunteered their evenings to go and support their students at athletic events and such from being able to get a ticket without having to pay for it?
No, because part of the cost of the online ticketing is there's a fee that comes along with that. Right now, for some of our sports, we lose money at every event. basketball, they lose money every girls' basketball
What are you
game.
using for your online ticketing?
Ooh. I could ask my wife, she buys them for the drama. My daughter's, place, I think she just
Oh,
bought some
yeah,
of those on,
I just bought some too.
for Friday's thing. I
Yeah.
could not tell you, she
It's
prints them
not
on.
Acorn, is it?
No,
I can text her and ask, I'd have to find out, I really,
I have to look
That's-
at
So
that's
some.
not my area
there are
of expertise.
surcharges and fees associated with each transaction.
oh yeah.
So there's no way to do a roll of tickets.
No, and the people can't show up to the game and get a ticket, the tickets have to be repurchased. We've had many athletic events where people have been told, parents, from the other school that, we don't have tickets here, they call the school ahead of time, no, your allotment of tickets are gone. So if we had staff members coming to games, which we have for years, to be able to support their students, support the school that they work at, if say 25 of them come, it's quite possible that we may have parents that couldn't even watch their kids play. Now, I'm hoping that we get back to normal with that, I really, really, really am. But as of right now, that's 100% what it was. It was, and I mean, the board just said that they could go up to 50% capacity for sporting events.
Okay.
But most of our sporting events now are the ones, baseball, softball, I think those are almost even done. I'm not sure, I should be better at that. Like tennis, it's already outside, there's no cost to that either.
I have a question, could there be something like perhaps maybe after, because they do the ticket sales ahead of time, online, and they're getting these ticket sales, if they have enough space left over, could they open it up to first come, first serve to the staff that wanna come? Because there are staff members that love to come to the games, but, paying a cost.
No, I understand that, but I have no idea, because I have no idea how that is set up at the schools. Okay, my experience, like I said, is whenever my wife buys drama tickets, or someone in my office goes to see their niece play basketball in the middle school, they go buy tickets online. That is my whole experience with it. So I don't have a better answer for you, but I do know that some of our events have been sold out to where parents could not come, and I don't know when that stops happening, like what the cutoff time is for that.
Well, I thought it was where parents have the first,
We're talking about from other schools,
oh, okay.
from the visiting school, because they have
Right,
do a
gotcha.
smaller allotment. But I couldn't, I don't know when like the cutoff time is. If the game is at Tuesday at 4, when is the
Gotcha.
cutoff time?
So that would be kinda hard, because then if you're trying to get the parents to get there and they wait until the last minute, then how do you know how many
Yeah,
tickets are left?
they've had parents call high school, others, visiting schools, usually outside the county, call because, hey, how do I get a ticket to the game if there aren't any tickets to the game? Your allotment was sold, and then we sold our allotment to our students or parents or whatnot, so there are no more tickets to the game.
Yeah, and we have to understand that during the COVID right now, that's just something that.
Yeah, and that, again, like I said, for years, I've gone to games up at Citrus High School to watch IMS play, or to watch Citrus play, or wander into a volleyball game or a basketball game for a few minutes, say hi to some kids and stuff like that, and I just can't do it now, you know what I mean?
I know, I bought my tickets to the drama,
Yeah, like I
and I
said,
had to do it way in advance
You
to
better
make sure
get-
I was able to
yeah,
get in there.
I didn't even know something was going on Friday until about 3 hours ago. My wife told me, I said, oh, thanks for the heads up. Usually it's Friday afternoon, I'm told I'm doing Friday night, but that's a whole other conversation. But no, I get what you're saying, but right now, it is so totally in flux. I'd like to, I truly do believe we're heading in the right direction, looking at our numbers. As far as, positive cases and hospitalizations, I think we're heading in the right direction. I'm of the opinion you don't let off the accelerator, you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing if you're heading in that direction, because I would love for next August to be a heck of a lot more normal than it was this time, because, we still got people in panic mode. I wanted to get back to normal. I've had 2 kids go through their senior years of high school with this, and one of them couldn't have been happier. My son was like, sweet, no problem, I don't have to worry about this. Graduation, I just sit in the car the whole time. It
By
was
the
like
way,
the best day ever.
just to let you guys know that, we're coming upon that point again,
Mhm,
because Pi Day,
Yep.
March 14th,
mhm.
I remember I gave my students an activity to do on Friday, March 14th,
Yeah,
for
they
pie,
didn't come back, did they?
and they did not come back.
I remember. I remember that day.
So Pie Day is
Yes.
Sunday,
Mhm.
March 14th. I'm hoping that we proceed unto Monday
Oh,
and
I-
Tuesday after.
I remember, it was, hey, we just, we're calling spring break early. You all remember that, right?
Yep, I
We're calling
do,
spring break.
I
And then it
do.
was, every 2 weeks, we're gonna kind of talk about it for 2 weeks. I'm like, that's not helping.
And it's
parents.
coming up.
Right, that's not helping parents who need to get daycare set up or this and that. And then it was just, we're done. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What happened? It kind of happened very quickly. And when we came back, I think everybody was hoping over the summer it was gonna kind of go away. And it did. And it just hung around, and heaven forbid, the people who've had to deal with this on a much deeper level than others. So I'm just hoping that we can get to where we need to be, not just for athletic events, but for, prom, with all that stuff.
So
I mean, are we even have Math Field Day this year?
We're supposed to have Math Field Day, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I mean,
Math Field
that's, because like I said, my son, he wanted to be in the Commissioner's Academic Challenge, which was the academic team, and go to because he got to go to Disney for 3 days for free. That was his whole plan. And he made it, and then they canceled it. But he was mad. I said, but you don't have to worry about prom. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. But Matt, that's good to know that
Yep, they are
we're doing
having
that
Math
again.
Field Day as of right now.
Is it still at the Elks?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, just curious. Those are
I didn't hear the place, I just know that we're having it, we're just gonna have less teams.
Okay, those are the kind of things that we've just for years have done, and everything stopped last year. You know what I mean? And I'm just wondering if, I'm glad that we're able to do some of them again. So no, I'm hoping that we can get back to that, but it is 100% a capacity issue,
okay.
and it is a,
So I would be correct in telling people that when we resume normal capacities, we'll go back to staff being able to.
well, I would hope so. I mean,
drop into.
each year, the superintendent makes that decision. I can tell you a lot of the athletic directors aren't thrilled about that because it cuts into a lot of revenue for them. But she's always believed that, the staff being able to go see the kids, and the kids being able to see their teachers and the aides, and the ladies in the front office, and the staff being able to see them up in the stands means a lot to them, the cheerleaders, the kids in the
Well, it means
band.
a lot to the
Yeah,
staff
I know,
too.
all that stuff, they get to cheer on their kids and have
Right.
that deeper connection. So I'm sure it's something that we would surely try again, once we can get out of this,
Okay,
in fact, to what, hopefully some semblance of normal.
okay. Well, it was expressed to
Oh, I
us
understand.
at a couple of different, meetings with, different schools. Staff were disappointed, I guess, that they were unable to, be able to access the
So
games.
I really think that's something that you should probably express though to Mrs. Himmel, because like you said, Mrs. Himmel does care
Yeah.
about the staff,
Oh, yeah.
and so that would be an expression that since staff wants to be
Oh,
there.
Oh, yeah, like I said, it is 100% a capacity issue with the CDC. Like I said, I'm trying to, no.
And you said we're at 50% capacity.
That's what
now.
I understand. That's what I understand for athletic events. The problem is, I don't think our athletic events are the ones that have a super high usage. Typically this time of year, track doesn't always have. You have a lot of students at track though. My gosh, you guys, they're all over the place when you have a track meet. Like baseball, you have parents. You have fans. Football, basketball, volleyball, you have a lot more. So, that's definitely something that right now is driven by capacity.
So, because we have been having conversations, touching base with people at the work sites and just trying to get a sense of how's the year going at this point. We are experiencing a uptick in the number of concerns regarding sub coverage, planning time, things like
I'm
that.
not trying to be funny, but is this just happening now, or have you been
No,
hearing?
it's been
Okay.
ongoing,
I
but
was gonna
it's,
say, I imagine it's been ongoing, but,
it has been, but I think that what we're hearing now is a level of stress from people, like something's gotta give, we gotta get some subs in here, what is the district's plan for getting subs?
they've been trying. I talked with HR last week about it, and they've done everything they possibly can think of. They're bringing in people, they're, trying to get them trained, trying to get them fingerprinted, paying for the fingerprinting, and then people just don't want to sub. whenever I oversaw it, we had a system called ASOP, and on the teacher side, I know you know what ASOP is. On my side, it was a little different. I got to see who the subs were. And we had 450 subs, and at that point, there were, what was it, 219 of them, Monday through Friday, it said do not call. So we had people who were subs, who paid each year to update their fingerprints, but 5 days a week said do not call. Now, I think some of that was because Vicki knows she's gonna be out, or Terry knows she's gonna be out, they contact the sub, hey, you know, I'm gonna be out in 3
Oh,
weeks,
it's
can you?
sub on reserve.
Bingo. And you know, we do have some of those, we have some subs that are there every day to school. But I mean, there were 219, that's over half of the subs that we had on the list were do not call. And then some of the others were, yeah, you can call me between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's not helping me for my middle and high school at all. So there were a lot of things, I don't know if it's the same now. But I do know that they are reaching out, calling whenever there's a new sub being added. HR is emailing the administration saying, hey, we just added a sub, put them on your list of people. And there just aren't that many that I can gather.
Valerie might touch on this, but maybe this is something that we need to look at is, because this is a problem, we have substitutes that don't wanna come in because, you know, they're afraid. We have substitutes that are last minute, we have staff that are last minute because maybe perhaps they got sick. You know, so there's a lot of different things going on. Of course, we have some staff that goes out every Monday and Friday, we understand that. But for the last minute, that's what the problem is, it's the last minute. Because for coverage, like for right now, for me being out for my surgery, I have a sub already in
Yep.
place for the whole time I'm gonna be gone, because I have to do the COVID, so I have to be out for
Yeah, be out
isolation
ahead of
as well.
time, right?
right?
Yeah.
So I have it all covered, I do. But, when it's the last minute, that's what's bothering people. So we just wanna make sure that you're not cutting into your planning time. And even though, you know, in a contract, it says 150 minutes, and it says 30 minutes during student contact time, which means that's your planning period. It's not in the morning, it's not in the afternoon, it's during, when students are in school, you try to have that 30 minute of uninterrupted time. And if it's cutting into that, then I think that if a teacher is having to cover classes, and now they've gone into their planning time, I think they should be compensated for that. I'm not saying that, you know, that if they have it in place where you're only doing it once a month, you're doing it maybe once every
On a
other.
rotation.
Right, like, if that's happening, then yes, it's inconvenience, but at the same time, hey, this is where we're at right now.
I think what we're running into with some of that, and this is conjecture on my part, but I'm gonna put it out there then, if you're bringing this up. If teachers are being asked each day to cover on their planning period, I imagine there are some teachers at that school who are absolutely refusing to assist with that. So we still have to supervise the students.
Yes,
So, I mean, there has to be coverage of the class.
but then if you're having to ask that same person several times, because you are right, there are people who say, oh, I can't. And then
I think it's more of I won't.
oh, true, but anyway, they get put back into that roster, right? Perhaps, maybe, or however, because each school is different,
Yeah.
everyone's not doing it the same. So then, but then that person's being asked again, and, you know, especially if you're a first year teacher or in that annual contract, you don't wanna sit there, you'll be like, oh yes, I'll do it.
I understand what
Even
you're saying.
though you're just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed,
So
I'm
are we-
missing on my planning.
Are we willing to say that in those situations that teachers, if there's a rotation set up, that teachers have to be willing to work on that?
No, because there might be something that actually has to happen. For instance, I have been asked, and I've had to Zoom during my planning
Okay.
period with something. It's not where I'm going, I refuse, I have to Zoom. Because as the president, I also have other obligations, so I have something going on. So then I put myself back in that roster, you know, in that rotation. But I'm talking about if a person has to cover more than once, I think the principal, on their discretion, can go and talk to the person and say, what's the problem? How come you can't take care of this? still, I don't think there should be disciplinary, because you never know what's going on. But if that person is having to cover more, and now they've gone into their 150 minutes, they should be compensated for that 150 minutes, just like we're paying now for support. And the problem is too with
But
support, which I'm very excited,
Go
let me
back to the
finish.
150
Even
though,
Even
that's
though,
not,
let me finish, even though I'm very excited about the support getting paid now support, what's happening with support is some of these teachers, because they're just using support constantly, now they're not being able to do their job. They're not able to help that student that they're supposed to be in there aiding with the teacher. They're not able to do their secretarial job. There's certain things that's not being done. So, if a teacher is having to fulfill that, which I'm totally in agreement that sometimes, hey, you just gotta do it. But if you're cutting into your 150 minutes of planning time, because that's your time, because another thing that's, okay, we also, though, you cannot say, well, you have planning in the morning and the afternoon. First of all, elementary teachers do not. Now, high school,
hang on a second, Kyle, do they have time in the morning at your school before students get there?
They do have time in the morning.
not always, because some people have to go out there and help with other things that's going on with the students.
Okay, but you can't say that they
And
don't.
meeting, okay, but not all, but let me tell you what's happening, at least in secondary, we have to watch the students now,
Okay,
because they have to come and sit in our classrooms. So we don't have time, we can't leave the students unsupervised, so we have to go, we can't make copies. So even the morning and afternoon is gone. So morning and afternoon is gone. So now but not only that, the contract states 30 minutes of I can't speak, uninterrupted time during student contact time. That means it's during school, not the morning, not in the afternoon. So I get it, that sometimes we might have to cover, but right now we are in dire straits with not being able to get subs. And God bless the people that are trying, because I know like my high school is trying to get substitutes. They're doing incentives, they're doing everything. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome what they're doing. But at the same time, then, if a teacher has to cover twice a week, every week, now you're cutting into the 150 minutes. So I think they should be compensated for that. It's just like when we give up planning time to teach, we should be compensated. Now, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
well, what I was trying to say is that it says a little more in the contract than just about the 150 minutes.
Yes, 30 minutes uninterrupted.
No, I mean, it goes a little deeper than that, right? There's
It says-
there's a few little caveats built in there.
If there's less, if there's, the weeks are different,
It's shorter than 5
right?
days.
And it says if there's like meetings and such, you're supposed to, it's not like every week there's supposed to be a
Is there not a third one that talks about anything with state mandates?
state
Yeah.
mandates too.
So like state mandating that we have to supervise students.
Yes, but, okay, now you're getting,
I'm just- no,
you're
what-
you're really taking this one little thing and stretching it a little
No,
bit,
no, no,
because that's stretching, that's
no.
stretching.
Well, no, I mean, your statement is saying that
Yes.
no one in elementary school has time before school.
You're right, okay,
So-
so I stretched that, but
Well,
you're stretching
No,
that too.
what I'm saying is that we have to supervise students, okay?
Yes,
Okay, that has to be done. But you're not willing for us to have to go to a teacher and say, listen, it is your turn to do this, okay? We have gone around the loop. We've gone around the loop maybe a second time. Both times you've been busy or you've just said, no, this is my planning period. You know, we're now asking someone to do this a third time because you haven't. We're not willing to tell that person, no, you need to go do this. But we want to compensate the people who have to go in there, right?
why not? Why not? In fact, why not then have that discussion? I'm sorry, as a principal, I think you should have that discussion with that teacher. Discipline, no, I'm not gonna advocate disciplining another teacher. I'm not gonna advocate disciplining a support person. That's just, what are we? Are we in some kind of place where you sit there and advocate disciplining everyone? No, but if you're sitting there willing to compensate for that person that's willing to go out of their way to every single time take that slack up from that other person, then you should reward them. You should sit there and go, congratulations, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'm gonna give you this for that. And guarantee that person's gonna be more appreciative and they're not gonna complain. Because even though that person is saying, sure, I'll do it, they're still complaining. They're still going, God, I had to do it again, and I'm really tired. And I'm sick and tired of it, and it's making the morale lower and lower and lower because we're having more demands put on us. Just give some thank you, and a way to thank you them is in their pocket. That's with any job. You put someone to make work overtime, they're always gonna feel better if they have more pay in their pocket. I mean, it's just, it makes you feel better. It really does, and that's in the society we are in. But
Steve, can HR give us
I
a
really did get off on a tangent.
count? Can HR give us a count of the unfilled, job posting for subs? Like the fill rate, can we get the fill rate?
I can ask them. One of the problems we run into, at least we did whenever I was there, is that when positions are filled at the school level, they aren't always put into, do we still use ASOP?
Yes.
Okay, all right, it's been a couple years, that's why, they're not always put into ASOP.
But it's
Sometimes it,
calculated as a sub when the person takes the day, right? At the point that they put in for it, there's a request for a sub, so we can conceivably track, was this job?
well, what I'm saying is, no, that's, so say Kyle's got 4 teachers out that day,
Right,
okay? And 3 of them don't have subs. All right, Adele starts calling people, she gets 2 people to come in, she may not be going back into ASOP
oh, I
and
hear what you're saying,
and
okay.
put those in there, so.
Right.
So you might have people who show up that
But it
weren't-
shows up on the emails. We get emails.
Oh, but now,
that's so hard to track.
That
Well,
would be,
no, but I get what you're saying, yes, we have the fill rates, but those aren't always accurate, because we
Right.
used to call
Gotcha.
schools, they're like, no, we got those covered. Why didn't you put them in there? I forgot, I'm not mad, I get it, because by the time it happened, it's probably kids are coming in, breakfast is getting done, oh, thank God you're here. We're,
Right.
it's usually a teacher, sub, hey, you're going to Mr. So-and-so's room today, or Miss So-and-so's room today, thank you very much, and where the day is moving. So I know that's what it used to be, I can only imagine now, it's very similar.
Right.
But I can't say for sure, because I don't even know if they know whenever, support is covering,
Right.
until they get the extra duty form saying that they get the extra amount.
So, because for me, the logic follows that if a sub was requested, would have been budgeted, but the sub coverage never happened, the district's saving money by pulling teachers from planning time, or even paying the additional supplement for support to provide that coverage, right? We're not paying for a sub that day. So some small portion of what would have been used to pay for a sub for that day could conceivably be offered in the trade-off of lost planning time.
To an extent, but you also have to remember this year, I don't believe there's a way you could budget for the number of subs that were requested this year versus any year.
Maybe that's what we look
In
at,
the
the
past.
number of sub requests so far this year against prior.
I mean, I can, and Kyle, are they all put into ASOP? I mean, if you have someone call into your school, and I hate to keep picking on you, but you are right here. If someone calls in, you guys still have people who call in the morning and don't put it into ASOP?
Teachers?
Yeah.
They do. Typically, Adele puts it into ASOP.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Because
have
if it's past a certain time though, like this morning, the
Okay.
teachers can't put it in because it's past the
Okay.
time when they're allowed, because it's so late in the morning.
But they still have to put it in Skyward
Yeah.
Well,
for sick leave,
the
afterwards.
secretary would then have. to
Right,
put
but
it-
afterwards, it's documented.
Oh, yeah.
Either way.
Oh, I understand that that's gonna be documented. I'm just trying to think if the sub request is put into one place versus the other, because we're looking at pulling something from ASOP and then trying to reconcile it with another system in Skyward, and those two are not connected. And again, I'm not trying to knock anyone out of school, I just know a lot of times we're grabbing subs that are coming in, sometimes into, well, I don't know which, but in the first period, right? Finally got somebody coming in, we are probably not going back in ASOP.
Well, why can't we just still, why can't we recommend then that everyone puts it in ASAP? For instance, my cat had a freak accident, so I quickly had to ask for, I had to call in there at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, but I still put it in ASAP. I knew I was not gonna get a sub at 4 o'clock in the morning, no one was gonna pick that up.
Yeah.
But I put it in ASAP, so it's still documented in ASAP. Why can't we still require, if there's an emergency, you still have to put it in ASAP, so that way there's one place where all of it's being
Except,
handled?
Kyle, I think, and I don't know what the cutoff time is it an hour before school starts?
6:30.
6:30, okay, I don't remember what the hour, where teachers can't put it into ASOP anymore.
Well, if you know you're not gonna be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, I mean, at 6:30 in the morning, you have to be at school at 7.
I'd like to say that happens,
It happens.
Well, in
unfortunately.
elementary though, they have to be there later. Isn't there a way to extend ASOP though?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why is there?
Well, there has to eventually be a cutoff, because then people are putting it into ASOP, and the school is hoping that the system picks it up and can dial out that quick.
Well, we know it's not going to happen, but isn't there a way that you still tell teachers you still have to put it in ASOP at a certain time? I understand this, that dial-out's not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things we can tell staff to do, but if they don't do it, then we're still back in the same situation. So I'm I get where you're coming from, but we're coming back to where you're asking us if we can track it. Yeah, we can probably track the fill rate. Is that fill rate accurate every day? No, it's not, because schools, as you said, are trying their best to grab people who can come in, fill it in.
Can't you ask the school, like, again, I go back to my school, and I have to tell you, Mr. Chris, he is awesome. And he has the data all the time of how many teachers are being filled, they've got it down to a T where they know how many teachers have covered more than what they were supposed to, because
And-
as I'm there, I'm
and-
saying, you have to make sure they're within the
And I've
contract.
talked to schools about this before, in previous years. I'm like, why don't you have a rotation as to who's covering, who's got first period planning, who's covering this? Well, so-and-so doesn't like to. I said, well, you can have a conversation with so-and-so, because if they're the ones who are out a lot, especially if they get those Monday, Friday blues, then we need to have a conversation with them about what you're doing to the rest of the staff. With that being said, it's not something you can dictate to every school, because every school, and we know, is a unique culture. You're not gonna find what Citrus High does at probably the other two high schools. And that's not bad. They may have their own thing that works for them.
Which is fine,
Yeah,
which is fine.
so, but to require, each school to run the data each day on that, they may know it. I'm not sure if they do. I've never asked them to.
Well, I wouldn't say each day, I would say at least by the end of the month, or the end of, the end of the month actually. You run the data to see, okay, now who worked beyond their planning period because they had to cover so many, especially the end of the month. Because if they had to cover 3 times or 4 times, they've already cut into their minutes. So then that person should be compensated. It doesn't have to be where, I'm just saying something needs to be done to help those teachers that are going, you know what? I got you back. I'm gonna take care of it, because I know this teacher's not, I got it covered. Well, give that person a little something, to say thank you for helping.
We've had a lot of conversation about like the rotation and, having those conversations with people, but because of the complexities of, especially with the secondary teachers, I have 5th period planning. My coworker who has 3rd period planning might cover more. It's all a factor of, do we have a sub in the building, and the sub is in the building for another teacher who has 5th period planning? So they might need
Oh,
me,
yeah.
whereas, are there more teachers who have 5th period planning than have 1st period planning? And so there's a lot of factors that go into teachers having to cover more, not just because, well, so-and-so's not covering, it could just be
Yep.
the period they have
The amount.
planning
Right.
is.
Yeah, I think of it as secondary world as period, as okay, who has first period planning, who has second period? Oh, we got a sub that has first period planning? Nope, you're not planning on it because you're a
Well,
sub.
and that's what
We
they,
got you in here.
that's what they
Absolutely.
do, so it's, it's not always that fair rotation. Somebody who has 3rd period planning
Right.
might come around before I ever come to my
Mhm.
2nd or
Right.
3rd, if
But
the
that's,
people that are taking off always have that period
and that's
open
something they
and
check
there's a sub
into,
there.
right? Because like Chris, he showed us that, like for instance, I'm 2nd period planning. So my 2nd period planning, there's only 5 teachers. So if you need to cover a 2nd period, we're gonna get rotated much
Mhm.
quicker. But we understand that, you see what I'm saying?
I
We
get
get
it.
that, we understand that, where another period has 10 teachers to be able to rotate. So it's not gonna come around as much. But what they do though, and they make sure that it's not just the teachers, they make sure it's a support, they make sure it's the deans, they make sure
Mhm.
someone else to cover those 5 people, so that way they're not doing the same rotation. So, but even if it isn't, even if that school's not doing it the same way as Citrus, because again, I'm giving accolades to Citrus High, because I think they do a wonderful job, but even if it's not, like they're not doing it that way, then they just need to, even out of that 5, that person has to constantly, and please understand, I don't get pulled that much, okay? But if that person out of that 5 people get pulled quite a few times, then you should give them something. You should, because now they're cutting into their times, because guess what? They're having to stay later after school to make sure now that they sit there and have those copies, that they are able to compensate for that time that they lost.
I think
Because
that,
our planning is very valuable.
Oh, I understand
That's it.
that, and just like with the subs, we have trouble with subs. A lot of times this year especially, we are having subs for teachers who, the time that they're taking isn't their time that they're taking. They're taking days that are under the FFCRA, that as we all know, there's no reimbursement for public entities with that. We just have to eat the cost of that, and it's fine, that's what we have to do for our employees. But there's just, that's more expenses going out, where if we even can get a sub, there's not, okay, well, we don't have to worry about the sick day at the end. There's none of that. This year has been something that no one could have really predicted. Most people wouldn't have predicted to occur. And, you hear it a lot this year, we're building the plane as we're flying it, trying to figure out as to what was going on. This should have been done, it's gonna be over in June. Okay, we'll start school a little bit later in August, and then we'll be fine by Labor Day. And then we go into Thanksgiving, and we got colleges that aren't coming back after Thanksgiving because they're afraid it's gonna spread. We got colleges that are moving spring break up and saying, boom, we're done. We're not having any more in-person classes. We still aren't completely ahead of it. So we are trying to find ways to make this work. And Vicki, to one of your points, I mean, we still have we're human beings. We're gonna have people who are gonna say, it's Friday morning, I'm not feeling it.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of those. Everywhere does. We have students that are that. All right, we have students that say it on the Tuesday sometimes as well. That's what it is. So we are trying to get through this as a group, and I really wish that our employees and our colleagues with each other could say, yeah, I get it. It's my turn to do that. I know that some of them are already teaching on planning. So especially at the high school, if they're teaching on planning, they're taken out of that rotation, because how can they do that when they're teaching them? Am I right?
Right,
doing
except for the virtual.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's some people that are still during their virtual time, when they have a virtual class, they're still subbing.
Okay, so, I mean, so that's gonna cut back on the number of people, but that would be up to each administration. So if someone's having an issue with that, I highly recommend them take it up with their administration and just ask. And yes, I know it's gonna be our younger teachers, it's gonna be our newer teachers, it's gonna be our teachers who
They're
are.
not gonna complain.
Well, I'm not saying complain, I'm just saying have a conversation.
They're not gonna have a conversation.
And I do believe that we have some older teachers who might be taking advantage of the fact, maybe if we got younger teachers like, they got tons of energy, they'll go do that, I get it, but, we're all in this thing together trying to get through it. So to say that is the district or the administration that's doing something wrong, I mean, I don't think we're doing anything wrong. I think we're trying to figure out ways through these things whenever people are kind of, let's just be honest here, spring break can't get here soon enough. I mean, am I wrong?
And y'all put it all the way at the end of the
Whoa,
month.
y'all, that was a voted decision.
Next year, look at next year.
Yeah, I know, that was a voted decision, that was not and that had to be carved together after we
So-
finally figured out when we're coming back to school, so.
Right.
I didn't even think about that, another consequence of the craziness of this year, trying to put all that together. So, I mean, we're all in this together, we just gotta figure out a way to try to muscle through it at this point, I believe.
So obviously, our first priority would be to staff up our subs and make sure that our
Mhm.
teachers are getting playing time, right? If a teacher out of pure need and no other solution is heavily utilized to provide sub coverage during their planning, and we're not talking about your first planning period of the month, we're talking about, by planning period, have we reached a point at which we need to consider some way to offset the work that has to be pushed into their personal time? And do we have administrators who are offering comp time? And is that a possible route? The problem that we have with people saying comp time in exchange for covering planning is you're not giving me more work time, you're giving me less work time when you do that. Because then I have to take that time when there's no student contact, when I would otherwise be doing more planning. So comp time really isn't a great solution
Now, I don't understand how comp time's working if we don't have subs. How are we giving people time to take off if we don't have time to? That's why, I hadn't heard this, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
when you said that, I'm like,
Doesn't
whoa.
work, comp time doesn't work.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what I'm
because,
saying. Well, that's what I'm saying, is
Okay.
that if we're
I hadn't
looking
heard
for
that
a non-monetary way to give people back time, I don't know that comp time does that. People need time to plan, so when their planning time is taken, that planning, the planning tasks are pushed into personal time. And I think that's why the conversation tonight has been about how do we look for, where can we draw a line to say, at this point, you're entering an area where it's deserving of some form of compensation, additional pay. By the third planning period that you're pulled from, you're entitled to an additional hour of pay.
You know how teachers and how support are not allowed to work past their time, because if they do, they get in trouble, and it's according to the statute, right?
Fair Labor Standards Act, yeah.
Right, they can't do it. Teachers always work, we always work past our time, right? We always do, every single time. In fact, in my bag, I have my work that I'm gonna be doing. I did earlier before I came here, and I'm gonna be doing when I get home. But it's mainly, it's because no matter what, we're still gonna work. Even if our planning's taken away from us, we're still gonna work at home. It's just letting us know, you know what? We appreciate you. We appreciate that you're giving up your time to cover so-and-so's classroom with no lesson plans, and you're going in there and you're having to take care of everything, and you're dealing with those students during your time, and during your planning time, it's not only doing your work, but it's also your time for your break. It's just your time to like be away for a little bit, and it's just letting them know that you appreciate them. And yes, I'm sorry to say, but monetary is something that really makes people go, "Ooh, thank you. I appreciate that. That means more to me than good job." You know, I mean, it just isn't. If you care about Citrus employees, which I know Citrus County does, I always get smacked for this in the face every single time. Don't say that we don't care about it. I know you do care. I'm just saying that show Citrus County employees then that you really do care by giving them compensation when they have to do that. Because no matter what, we're always going to work outside. We are. Well, there's a few that don't. But most of us are always going to work outside of the clock time. We will. But just appreciate us by going, you know what, because you went way past your time and you worked every single time and you didn't even have a break away from kids, because sitting and babysitting even is hard. Then, because you don't have that mental break, that we're going to give you a little bit something. Just something. That's all.
Despite the sub-rotation that you're having, Crest teachers barely get any kind of planning, because we're always stuck with one individual child or a couple that refuse to leave the classrooms. So even the Crest teachers are losing out on planning time to make sure that they're secure, their children or students are, you know, safe and secure. So it's not only your planning rotations.
It's also doing according to the state statute that they have to
maintain
watch
the
those child safety. So
Yeah.
they're giving up all their planning period.
I don't think this is a new problem. I think that our members are telling us that in their estimation, it's gotten worse over the course of the year, and it's created greater stress
Oh,
on.
I'm sure it has, so we've had
So-
fewer subs, we've had fewer people willing to sub, we've had more teachers out, and if we're having, more teachers who are out and we have fewer subs to cover during like the fifth period or fourth period or whatever, when the sub happens to be there, those things are gonna snowball into where, yes, we do have to have people covering the class, we do have to have someone supervising the students.
Right.
We probably, we may not see it as much in the elementary world, because I believe that in the past, we've divided the kids up and we, separated them into multiple different classrooms, if that was the need be. Hard to do that in high school. If Vicky's got her geometry class and they put, 4 geography kids in there, because that's not gonna work. They're not getting any sort of instruction, because she's gotta teach her class. She can't stop that and then say, okay, what are you guys doing? What's the book look like? It doesn't work that way. So it is gonna be more of an issue you're probably hearing in the secondary world, just because of the nature of the beast with that. And that is a guess. But I have to assume that's probably where it is coming from. I've been one of the teachers who was pulled out during my planning period to teach in the past. All right, do what you're supposed to do, and I very quickly realized that there were other people who never got pulled out of their planning. I know that was a long time ago, but you notice it. So I do get that, but we've never gone through something like this before, where the year it has just snowballed one thing after another.
So is this the kind of thing that relief funds can be used for?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea. I'd have to find out.
It's compensation for additional responsibilities. I know that we have funds that can be applied to compensation where it comes to providing direct support for students, right? With, and closing the gap and tutoring and things like that. So I'm wondering if there's room or a way that we can interpret the use of the additional funds from the COVID relief dollars for this purpose. And like we said, I don't think we're talking about the scenario where somebody gets pulled from their planning once a month and, okay, I had to give up a planning in order to help in an emergency situation. But we do have situations where people are pulled weekly, and so they're missing, 4 hours of planning time that they may otherwise have to make up at home. So if you could find out whether or not that is a valid way to
Yeah,
extend
I'll
some of those
ask that.
funds.
Yeah, if the funds can be used for that, I have no idea off the top of my head. I wouldn't even want to guess, because I know there's some a lot of language in that, and I don't want to guess what aspects this might fall into if it does. So I'll ask.
Okay, appreciate that.
Mhm.
Because obviously, anytime we ask for compensation, there's, it's a budget question.
Mhm.
So in terms of the concerns that I sent you ahead of time, that kind of is the scope of them. I will give you a heads up, and I think I mentioned this to you previously, either a phone call or an email or some form. It has been brought to our attention by a number of support staff members that the number of paid holidays for our support is excessively deficient compared to surrounding counties. So our support are awarded 1 paid holiday on their contract. Marion gives 5. Sumter gives 6. Pasco gives 6. 7 if you're year-round. I think we'd like to have some conversation about how we can improve upon the number of paid holidays that our support receive.
Now, my estimation on that is that it's about, I'm trying to remember, I want to say it's about $52,000 for each day.
Per day, just
251s. So that's, again, that's taking the unit, multiplying the hourly rate by 8, or multiplying it by the number of hours, because remember, some people are
Some are
split with
6.
multiple different, some are 6, some you'll see 6 and 2. So if you took the hourly, took it across,
Right.
that would be how much, summed it all up, it came up to about $52,000 or $53,000 a day,
Okay.
just in the unit. It's just you had called me about that, so I don't have it right in front of me, but I do believe it's very close to that. If it's not 52, it's 53, it's right around that amount.
I'm always a bad person, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm that type of person. But, so just to bring up a point again, with our support staff, the perception is, and please understand, this is a perception, is that, support is not as valued, since every single time we bring up money for support and teachers are our number one, that we make sure they get salary. We had a long discussion on substitutes, getting money. Now, yes, our support are getting paid, which we did, thank you very much. But again, here is now one paid holiday compared to the other counties at 5 and 6, and it's comes back to, and I understand money is a big issue, but it comes back to money. It's very, support feels devalued, that we're willing to have this really long discussion on our supplements for our coaches, but our support is going to have.
No.
Well, I understand, I'm just
hang on
saying,
now.
please let me know, I'm just giving you this, I'm just giving you
And
a perception
I'm coming
of what's
back to
being
the
done.
same phrase I used
Okay.
before, the one pot of money.
I get that, but we always, every single time, it always comes back to
Money?
support, well, no, but it's always been supporting teachers, teachers are here, supporting here, and I'm a teacher. I value my job, I value my salary, I want a higher salary, but at the same time, we always seem to always squash it, and here, this is one paid holiday compared to 5 and 6.
All I did was tell you the amount that it was
Right,
gonna cost.
I just wanted to
No,
let
no.
you know.
I understand what you're
That's what
saying.
the perception is,
I know,
so that
but
way, keep that in
and
mind.
you're saying the perception, I'm saying the reality is this is just the cost of one day for the unit.
It's $53,000
Yeah,
per
and
day, I wrote it
that's,
down.
and that's all I said.
Right,
Okay?
no, I was just giving you a heads up,
Oh, I
that the
know.
perception
I-
is, so that way when you go back to the staff,
Well, you've already
talk about
told
it.
us this before, I understand what you say the perception is. All I said was, she had brought this up, this is the amount for one day. So if we're gonna speak about this, we're gonna probably speak about it in a term of number of days.
okay,
So if it's one day is this amount, if it's 2 days, we can multiply
so it is
by
a
2.
discussion we're gonna have.
Oh, if you wanna have the discussion, we'll have it, I just need you to understand, there's one pot of money, and this is gonna be in perpetuity if you're talking about that.
Does the 53,000, the estimate of $53,000 a day, is that all inclusive? So you're talking about covering?
Oh, I'll have to go back and look exactly.
benefits and
Yeah, I
taxes?
wanna say yes, but don't hold me to that, I'll have to go back and look.
Okay, so conceivably, if we wanted to just catch up with Marion County, who offered 5 paid holidays, we'd be talking about adding 4 days at $212,000.
Estimate, yeah, that would.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Do the support staff in Marion County work the same number of days that our support staff work? Do they have a longer calendar? Short
They-
calendar?
The actual number of days worked is the same. The length of the contract days for them is longer, but it's longer
That's a
because
good
they're
question.
holidays, right? So, I think on the table in comparison, they are technically working at approximately the same number of days physically in the workspace doing their job.
The hours worked is longer?
Possibly, depends on the position, like some of our positions are, different, lengths of time than theirs.
That's a good question, though, that's something that could be looked at and compared to, right? I mean, that's a good question, because you wanna make sure it's equitable, though. because then it might not be total of 5 days, it could be 4 days or 3 days. So that's a very good question.
Yeah, so, I mean, generally speaking, and honestly, I've already said this to Steve, but this literally came from the employees approaching us. And, you know, it's not something that we put out. They came to us. In fact, it was somebody who came from Marion. So the first person who approached us about it was like, I just realized I've only got one paid holiday here in Citrus, and in Marion I had 5. So they were trying to work out, you know, what the difference is, and truly it just is. They have 5 days added on to their contract, but they're 5 days that are paid they don't work. Right? So it's,
That's my understanding, yeah.
so, I mean, I feel like this is an area where we could definitely do better, and any movement forward is going to be moving in the right direction for these folks. It, you know, we worked very, very hard this year to get our instructional positions starting pay as competitive as it could possibly be with surrounding districts, and I think we did a pretty darn good job. From what I can tell, we did a pretty darn good job. But this is, you know, comparison of the hourly against hourly rate is one way to talk about our support pay, but contract language specifically providing for paid holidays is one area that apparently is a glaring difference for people. If we can improve on the number of paid holidays, I think we'll be doing something really morally right for these people.
I hear what you're saying, but I just want to keep coming back to, and I know, well, it's the reality is what, and as we talked earlier, when we're doing IDD, that it kind of stops when it comes up to money.
It does.
So I just want at the beginning to understand this is, and I can get you the exact number. I don't want to, I will get you the exact number by tomorrow. I just don't have it pulled up right now.
Well, I really liked her question too, that we need to look at the hours worked per week to compare that as well. I think that's a valid.
So how many hours, they work, what, 9-hour days in Marion with an hour unpaid lunch, or?
Well, it depends, like she was saying, it
Depends on
depends on
the
each
I
person,
see.
but we can take the average, just like, and then compare it to our average, right?
Or we can choose specific classifications and
True.
compare across classifications. We can look at it either way. And I haven't broken it down to that level yet to be able to compare, you know, the hourly rate against and the number of hours against. But I do know that, I think I used the word glaring. It's just glaring when you look in the contract and you realize
one
that
day.
one paid holiday. I work the
Compared to-
majority of my year and one paid holiday.
Even if we move, even if it's not a move to 5 days, it's a move, if we move somehow to make it.
And what I will tell you that partly what I'm concerned about, and the reason that I feel like we need to try to attempt to address this now, is we're, you know, this next year ahead, we're potentially good with meeting the statutory requirement to move towards the $15 an hour. We're already, everybody's at 10. So for the next year, we're good for meeting that expectation, but I suspect that in subsequent years, we're gonna find ourselves being pressed more and more to continue moving towards that $15 an hour, and that's gonna be what's driving the conversation. I'm worried that this piece, if not addressed now, is something that's gonna be delayed for years. Does that make sense?
No, I get exactly what you're saying.
Once the
Well,
$15 an hour becomes the only thing that we can focus on, so, I will tell you that, we had a couple of people who brought it to our attention, and a couple of people does not a bargaining unit make. And so what we have done is put together a survey that has gone out to our members, and we've asked specifically this question of our support members, And it wasn't, we didn't just ask, do you want more paid holidays? Because who's gonna say no to that, right? We have specifically asked, you know, if given the choice between the additional paid holidays versus a more substantive raise in the following year, which way would your preference be? So we're trying to get a sense of, will people be happier if they just get a good, healthy, substantial raise next year and you can keep your holidays however? Or are there people who just feel very strongly that these paid holidays should be a priority? And my hope is that we have some feedback through that survey, and it closes on the 15th, right? So next week, we'll have a little bit of information to share, I guess, but we're trying to take our cues from the members in the unit, the employees in the unit. And because these were all, every single thing that we discussed tonight is something that has been brought to us, I didn't want to not at least touch on it tonight. I know that I told you that we had been hearing rumblings about it. But once you hear a little bit of rumbling, you feel like you got to dig and find out, is there something here that we should be doing? That's what's going on.
Okay.
So I took us a little bit off of our,
No,
Agenda, but-
that's okay. You know, anything else? There's one thing I wanna talk about, it's in the planning stages, so, there's been a lot in the last, I'm gonna say 8-9 days, as far as vaccines go, and ages going down, up, all different directions, who can get what, where. We're in talks with the health department to try to get, like we did for our employees that were 65 and over. We reached out to principals, said, hey, you got any of these people, let them know. It was very strange. Go to the back door of the health department, and it was a,
knock 3 times.
oh, it was odd, but I mean, with the people who wanted it, had access to it. That was our whole goal. I don't, if you want to have it, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. I just want you to be able to have access to it, if what you so choose. With the 50 and over, we're looking at like 1,300 people in the district. I told you our staff age is a little different maybe than other places. And I think down in Tampa, at the federal site, they're doing like 1,000 a day. So for us to try to do this with the health department is going to be a pretty gargantuan task. So, but we are trying to work with them to create something for our employees to be able to have access. I know some already have. So there might be a survey of some sort coming out asking people, this is going to be horrible, do you want it?
No, ask them.
Do you not want it? Or
Yes.
third choice, have you already had it?
Right.
Because the health department, because they still have to be chilled or whatever, if we do this, they need to know kind of a general quantity of how many. So we are working to try to get that done.
Nice.
It's just not easy when it's 1,300 people. It's not, with our 60 and over, or well, 65 and over, it was 112. So it was a little easier for them to work that out versus this is gonna be, there's gonna be traffic control and things like that involved. Yes.
So I know that Ms. Himmel really wants to make sure that she takes care of her employees for the 50 and over, and I know you guys are working on a plan to do that. Are we gonna make sure that it's just a place just for Citrus County employees and not Joe Blow from Marion County gets to come in like right now?
Well, this would be ours.
Okay.
So it would be our employees who would kind of be, not necessarily staffing it, because I'm not gonna be giving shots to people. But it'll be our employees who, they would have to have a Citrus County badge to come in. Whenever we did the 65 and over, they had to show their badge and a driver's license at the health department, say, okay, you're a school board employee, you got the badge, you got the ID.
And they don't have to be part of the health insurance?
No, this is employees that, there's no cost for the vaccine from the government, because let's not forget, it's still under that, I get this wrong, emergency use authorization. So it's not, they're just, if you want it, it's not mandatory. I want everyone to understand that. but I know a lot of people are very concerned, very scared about the accessibility to it. I understand people are, CVS has got openings, Walgreens has openings, and 2 minutes later, they're all gone. So we're trying to create a way where if people want it, they can have access to it.
Now, there's gonna be a timeline too, right? You're gonna be eventually hopefully sharing.
Well, like I said, I'm trying to get that, I'm not trying to get it done. I'm trying to make sure that whenever it happens, I'll help however I can. If I need to go out there and, the night before, cone off areas and we're designating where the people are parking, we need to set tables up, I'm happy to do that stuff. When it comes to COVID things, that's through Sheila Bodel out there in Student Services with that. She's our contact with the health department. That's the biggest.
Are we gonna be looking at a different than CARES plan for people that have had vaccines, for both of them, because you have to have 2 of them? Because according to, what they're saying out there is they're doing less restrictions for people that have had 2 vaccines.
Well, that I don't know. That I don't know. That's gonna, they're kind of, CDC now, in my opinion, is doing kind of what they were doing last July, where every couple of days there seem to be different rules about things.
Gotcha.
And you remember we were on those Zooms, and I was getting very
Yes.
frustrated because I'd
Yes.
wake up in the morning,
New answer.
Department of Health, CDC, and then I would find out what the weather was gonna be like, because that was the more important thing. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's the truth.
No,
So
you're
no,
right.
as soon as we have more information on this, we're gonna get it out to everybody, because I know there are people out there extremely
Yes.
concerned,
Yes.
but it is not easy to try to get all this together. And there's a 3rd vaccine that's coming out, the Johnson & Johnson one that's only a 1 dose.
Right.
Because if it's 2 doses, we do this, let's not forget, 4 weeks later,
Do it again.
we do it again.
Right.
Because health department can't handle 13 people coming through and knocking on the back door 3 times, to get that done. Okay, Terry, you,
I guess this is just general knowledge, it's maybe not for or against anybody, but I do know, I have a friend that's an administrator in Columbus who is going back to their first day of school in a year.
yeah.
But they actually had to change some of their synchronous versus asynchronous learning when the majority of their employees got the 2nd shot, because they had so many of them. It
That's
didn't feel good, so
oh yeah.
in thinking, ahead of, in planning, we might wanna consider that based on the long conversation we had
Well,
about
believe me, I know,
Sundays.
And does the 10
As
days
well.
apply then? If it's, I'm getting the COVID vaccine, does
Well,
it
we're
apply?
we're gonna have people who have already that have already used their 10 days. But like I said, all those things I'm sure are being factored in. I just know that their conversations are happening. I'm trying to lend whatever logistical support me and my department can do as far as,
I guess if we gave them like on Thursdays and Fridays
we'll
versus
go out-
Monday, we
Yes.
reduce that.
well, if the health department's in charge, so we're probably looking at a Saturday is my guess, because
That would be
That's-
nice.
that's the day that they can do it. And I'm not
And then we
thinking
could
me, but,
go, anytime during the
well,
day
it's,
too.
it's
Yes.
their vaccine. They aren't giving it to us, because I get a lot of questions, so if you guys can help me with this, about my health on site. I don't mean to get off topic, but people are saying, are we gonna offer it there? Let's be honest here, the parking lot's not big enough for everybody. And if they are way down the list, they've already asked, of who's getting it. It's going to health departments, it's going to hospitals. So they've already asked, we've already got a freezer that can hold it. But what I'm envisioning with my health on site, by the time they get it, we'll have this push with this group. Hopefully we'll have another group to lower the age and we can get some more people through. Then if people who are in that older group say, you know something, I didn't get it that first time, make an appointment with my health on site, maybe every Saturday or so they go through, because once you open that vial, you've got X number of hours or days to use it. And that's precious stuff. So there's a lot of logistics with that. So we are working on this with the health department. Right now, I'm thinking, they're thinking Saturday, because that's the day they came.
Well, I think there are teachers under 50 right now that have been able to access.
Well, not
If you
with,
go to the CVS
Yes.
and the Walmart.
not with the Florida
CVS and
Department of
Walmart.
Health, because they have to follow the governor's executive order.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand.
Oh,
the
yeah,
difference.
but
I knew
Publix,
that-
Walgreens, I don't know if it's a local CVS does it.
Pharmacies with federal supply.
Yeah,
Anybody.
down in Tampa, the FEMA site down in Tampa. There's one in Orlando, don't ask me where that is. But there are other places that are allowing staff members of any age, now, not just teachers, any staff member, to go get the vaccines. I don't know exactly what they are. But
So it
Department of
depends on the
Health,
source of the vaccine.
yeah, Department of Health has to follow what the governor's executive order is, which is still 15 over. I'm sorry, Linda, you were.
You're fine. On your email that you may create saying,
Oh, I don't plan
Oh,
on
not
using
you.
it, yeah, but okay.
I'm picking on you because,
Okay,
and you're going to ask, would I like to have the shot? I don't want the shot, or I have the shot. So the person that says, no, I don't want to have the shot, their name's gonna be on record saying that
no,
you don't
this
want
would be not, it's almost like a survey monkey.
That's-
We would just
Just
want
to
to
give
know.
them
I just wanna make
No, no,
sure
people.
because.
No, this
you
is for the
know,
health department to know how many to have available.
Right,
That's all it would be for.
because I'm telling you, I don't wanna have a shot, but then I'm gonna come down COVID, and you're like, well, you didn't catch it.
Well, no.
No, it would be a survey monkey
Yeah,
where it's just
something like that.
anonymous, where that way they can collect the data
Yeah.
to see how many
Yeah.
are gonna have the shot, how many
Because once
want.
they,
Yeah,
once
like
they
I
go
said-
to the vial, they only
No,
give one
but
shot.
I
Good question.
I don't really want to know if people want to have it or not. I just want people to know it's available, where it's available, when it's available, how to go about getting, if you so choose to do that. It should be, if we can help them, the people who, if we have access to it, we can help them get it, that's what I want to happen. It's their choice if they want it or not, but no, it would not be us tracking anything like that, it would be Survey Monkey or whatever we use now. Do we still use Survey Monkey?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
they're saying a lot more things now where you can do certain things as long as you've had
Yeah,
those
yep,
two
I
shots.
read that.
So it's making people want to get the shots more, because now I'm gonna have that
And
freedom
again, and that's
that I
fine.
can do more.
If it's that person's choice, I'm 100% in favor of it. I don't like it being you have to, that's just
Right,
my
I
personal
agree,
opinion.
I don't think
But
you should make someone.
If someone wants to, and I have a feeling once you say, well, you can go on a cruise if you get these vaccines, you're gonna have people lining up to go
Of
get the
course, that's what I'm
vaccine.
saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's my guess, but no, Linda, you bring up a good point, no, it would just be just strictly numbers, to tabulate how many are we talking about, how many people have already had it, so we can kind of deduct that number from what we have. Because we have quite a few employees that, because even if our 50 and over, that 65 and over group that was offered before, it's still available to them if they chose not the first time to go back. So we still have some overlap on that, and I know we have a lot of
more
people.
50 and over, don't we?
Yeah, it's quite, it's 20, it's, I want to say it's 1,300.
I was gonna say, that's the majority of our.
Yeah, it's a vast majority of our staff.
So I heard this week that if you're fully vaccinated and there's a contact tracing need, that having been fully vaccinated means you may not have to quarantine.
Exactly, that's
So-
what I heard.
Having our,
That I do not know.
having our employees vaccinated, if they choose to do
Yeah.
so, may help resolve some of that sub issue we were just
I
talking
would,
about.
I would hope so, but also,
Wouldn't that be nice?
well, hopefully, but there's still people who, and I think it's just Terry that brought it up about when they get the second vaccine of the Moderna vaccine.
Yes.
And it depends on the person,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, I know, my dad said his shoulders hurt, my stepmother laughed, said she didn't feel anything. You know, so I know that depends
Well,
on the
they
person.
do say, some people have
Yeah.
reactions and it swells up, some people it doesn't react at all.
There's some people, I've heard that as we move into younger groups, that since there's a more robust immune system, there's more of a reaction to the vaccine, that their body wants to fight it off more. I'm like, oh great, we can't win for losing on this.
Yeah.
So-
Now I'm scared.
Because I say, my mom's
I have a very
79, has
robust
COPD
immune
asthma, and she was fine.
Yeah, so I don't know, but like I said, and that's exactly, if you want it, here's where, as an employee, but an employees only, wouldn't be spouses of employees unless they work for us, it would be employees only
Okay.
can go on this day and get this. And I don't know, we have no idea what kind of shot it would be, it'd be Pfizer, Moderna, or the Johnson & Johnson one dose.
Right.
I think we're gonna kind of be at the mercy of whatever's available, so
Well,
everyone's aware of
I
that.
have to say that you guys have been on top of it. You
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I've been listening to
Well,
the school board
yeah.
meetings, I've been listening to, I've been watching the.
Well, as you brought up,
I've been
with the
listening to
CDC, it's ever changing. I mean, every time they change something else and they'll call me and ask me, I'm like, this is what it says today. Now, tomorrow morning, they may release something else, and, you know, it's like whenever they came out about the vaccines, if you're fully vaccinated, you wear a mask, but you may not have to quarantine. I'm like, I don't like may not.
Yeah.
I like it black and white, yes or no, it makes it a lot easier. You know, if you're feeling sick, stay home, that's always been our rule, but, but then again, none are available to children, no matter what. So, and we work with children every day, so, some of us, they just feel like children, some of them are children. I know, I'm joking.
Are you saying I feel like a child?
No, I did not say that, no, not you, no, don't listen. But, The kids are not gonna be vaccinated, because this is not an approved vaccine still. It's still that emergency use thing, so kids are not gonna be vaccinated from what I could tell until this, they gotta do like real trials before they put it on the kids. Us, they don't have a problem, stick in the arm, but the kids, just wanna let you guys know, we are working on that, and it's trying to coordinate with the health department, and with 1,300 people, it's a little bit of a challenge. But as soon as we can, they said, Linda, there'll be a survey monkey or whatever it is, just ask it. I'm envisioning those 3 questions. Do you want it? Do you not want it? That tells us a lot there. And I've already had it is really the most telling thing, because then we can just kind of knock that number off the top and say, okay, at the most, we're gonna get this many here.
Steve, we have to ask people, are you over 50, or will you be able to
No,
differentiate through the sex?
No, I've got a list of people who are over 50. I've got a list of
You'll
people,
just survey those people?
yep, with their emails.
Okay.
With their emails, we just copy the emails, blind carbon copy to Survey, I don't even remember how Survey Monkey goes out. It just says, please just respond to this. If you, we can't even make them, we're just gonna ask them, it's just data collecting. You know, if this were available on this day, would you, A, like to have it, B, I don't want it, or C, this? Because then people are gonna call and ask which one it is. I don't know.
I think whether people want it or not, that's a nice benefit for them to see that the district
Oh, yeah.
is prioritizing
agree.
it.
Yeah,
So I
this
think
is-
that's really,
Yeah.
whether they want it or not, it's. you
Like I
know.
said, when we got the 65 and over in there, I was just happy it got done. It took the last minute, but it was calling schools and say, go find these people, ask them, just let them know it's available.
You know what was
That's all I
really
want.
sad though is, you guys didn't really toot your own horn there. There was people going, are they gonna be offering it to the
No.
65 and older? They have already.
Yeah.
They have.
I
They
know.
have,
But
they've
it-
already offered it.
it-
You're just not
yeah.
65,
All
so
it-
you're here.
And all it was, in all honesty, it was a day and a half we had to get people over there. And we kind of, because we did have some bus drivers who, it ran into some route issues with them. So we kind of ironically negotiated with the health department for them to offer it a little bit earlier so they could go before. And so it was a group effort. I mean, the health department was great about it. And they even
But you
changed.
didn't let anyone know.
It was
You
a-
just let those
I know.
65, so people were going, are they going to be
I know.
offering it to the 65 they have?
Yeah,
You just didn't get contacted.
listen,
because
I
you're
was just
not
happy whenever
65.
it happened, okay? Whenever it happened and they said, yeah, we had a ton of people show up, I literally was relieved that day, because I was afraid no one would show up.
Well, you might want to be more transparent, just saying. So that people know.
No, I was at the board meeting saying I'm about to send out an email right now, because they called
But
me
you know
up
how
to the
many
board
people
meeting.
listen to the school board meeting? There's maybe 6 of us.
The important thing is that
When
they
you
were
when you
all
have the blank line of the we'll get you some
recognition.
press.
Listen, I'm not kidding, I was about to hit send, I got text messages, they're looking for you, and I go upstairs and
I
said,
have newspaper articles, so I don't forget to ask.
what's going on?
Okay, but I am
So they
interested.
stopped me. But as soon as I get that, now I'll let you and Vicki know, I know, you guys, but I'll let you know whenever that day is. I just have no idea.
So are the bargaining teams comfortable, if, we take a look at the, placement schedule as discussed and, make sure that it's codified in writing, that we can move forward and sign off for those retirees to be placed at the 46 to 50?
In the level 5 or whatever, I call it level, but we can't call it steps anymore.
Or do we need to bring it back to the committee again?
Now, what are you offering to support staff for the ones that retire and come back to?
Well, this is the
This is the
placement
placement
schedule for
schedule
the
and
teachers.
the teacher.
This is our placement schedule that we have in place for teachers right now. So this is nothing to do with support, because support does not have a placement schedule
No, I know.
like that.
We have support coming back.
Well, yeah, but we're just saying that. for the-
Where do they come back now?
Where
There
there's
was something in
variances?
there, it's like 4 years with credit.
I don't think that's changed. I think the reason that we're having to have this conversation
Because
Because they're coming in at
Specifically
different.
well, now it's,
Right.
there are no years, it's 0 to 15 or, sorry.
And so right now, if someone comes in, they're coming in,
Yeah.
they would be coming in below, so you wanna make
No, I
sure that they're
understand
coming in,
Because of the compression.
right.
So it sounds like it was originally similar to the instructional one, the year, 4 or 5 years coming back in, you get 4 or 5 years. But there's no scale that's compressed with support like there was by mandate, this year. That's, am I right? That's what we ran into, so.
So if
When we
if the
get
teams are good with it, we can move forward with that once we get it.
Well, then that
Okay.
would be different, because then it gets
I'll
compressed.
be working on that tomorrow. I'm gonna get a hold of, and Kirby, I'm gonna try to get some of these numbers to you and Vicki about the, stuff from Lynn with the supplements.
Yeah, anything that we can do
Mm-hmm.
to get the information.
But are we saying we're all right
sooner.
then for the placement schedule for the?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I'm gonna make sure I got that's the same number of, psychologists and SOPs and stuff like that, and social workers. I don't think it's changed, but I just wanna make sure. And the
So-
coaching one should not have changed much.
And I had asked you to hold this space for us for the 24th, but it's looking
That's
like
no problem. I
it's
can
not
take it
gonna
off of
work.
there.
So, maybe coming back after spring break, I guess.
Oh, we're talking about, I thought we already had, oh no, we didn't. We need to put dates more than just, you know, one
Okay.
every single time.
May I have clarification on the supplements for coaching? Support staff's allowed to also?
Yeah, theirs gets a little bit different because, they can't work over a certain number of hours
Twenty-fourth?
because they can only they can only coach up to the supplement amount.
You said the
40
24th.
hours a week.
Yeah, but then they'll get paid, but they can only coach up, from what I understand, up to whatever the amount of the supplement is. Because if they're getting time and a half for we run into some issues with that Fair Labor Standards Act with that one. But
But
yeah, we have support that coach all the time.
That's what I say, it's still offered to
Oh,
support.
absolutely,
So,
because I think,
oh, no, we can't do that, that's our.
I have a vertical alignment.
Vicki, is Miss Clee still coaching over at the high school? She is, right? I
Mhm.
thought I just saw her at a banquet. Yeah, we have some, I know we do it, we did it at IMS.
She's
and
assistant.
She's assistant, yeah, weightlifting?
Can we add, when we go over contracts again, those pages of supplement into the support contract also?
I think we should, because
Yeah, don't.
since they're being,
Yeah, we might just have to put in there about the number of hours, so I have to
right,
find
because
out.
we have to figure, put it into the
Yeah,
law.
what the law is on that one, but yeah, it's the same, you're right,
Sure.
the supplements are available to them if it's, yeah, but I know we have soccer coaches who were support, I think football.
But it's
coaches.
not listed in our contract.
I understand what you're saying, yeah, I never thought about that, I don't have an issue with that, it's,
We just have to make sure that the mandate is clear for the
Yeah.
hours.
The athletic pieces, do they do any of the academic stuff? I don't do them.
oh,
None of
wow.
that.
I don't think we have any of that
I'm trying to think,
support.
not that I
Just
can,
athletics.
We have athletics.
we have athletics,
Yes.
I know that.
I don't even think we have any, like, academic coaching, like, for that are
No,
support.
no, not that I'm aware of, I don't want to say no, not that
Well,
I'm
it's not in
aware
our
of.
contract to let them know that it's available.
Yeah, I mean, it's available at the middle school, I mean, it's the same, the coaching supplements at the middle school and the high school. Yeah,
So you said the 7th?
as a matter of fact, the gender equity one, Vicki, that just went through was the support person at IMS. We just had a gender equity coach go through the school board
Oh,
meeting,
yeah.
that was the support person
I'm fine after
at
that.
Inverness Middle School. I don't remember the name, I just remember them saying it was gender equity,
Yep, did it.
so, yes, so, yeah, you're right, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
So
What days you looking
and the
at?
other item is we need to address probably before the end of the year, the duration on the support contract.
Okay,
The instructional one's been extended, but the support one has not, so we need to refresh that.
okay.
And again, if you don't mind, if there's some way you can try to get, someone's gotta be computer savvy to get the new contract
Okay.
number, because people are confused, they're like, this is an old contract, and I always go, please go to our website, it's the updated one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with Kim Ellis on that. So what dates are you looking at? We come back April 5th, right?
Yeah, for me personally, Wednesdays are the best night of the week, provided it's not the first week of
Or
the
the
month.
third week.
Or the
First or
third
third?
week of the month.
The 2nd and 4th are good, first and third are good.
So right now, I'm looking at the 14th of April. And the 28th.
I personally, I don't have anything on either one of those days. I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to put it out to the rest of our team, but,
I'll put a hold on it for right now then.
Yeah.
Same time, 5 p.m.
Well, let's ask, I mean, is there any way we can start a little bit earlier? I mean, I'll have the room for the whole day, so if anybody wants to come in earlier, I say whole day, from like
Well,
1 on. So if anybody wants to come in earlier, they can.
if we, the problem is if we go this long like this, like today I ate before because I tutor.
I know, that's the only reason I'm saying, because of the time it is right now, I mean, it gets to be a super, super long day, so I was wondering if there's any way we could start even at 4:30 or something like that.
4:30.
Linda's on the bus at that.
Oh, yeah, she's on a bus.
Oh, I could, switch off bus runs.
Okay,
I took off the bus this afternoon, but I was on the bus this morning, so talk about super days.
yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out a way if we could,
4:30 is fine, as long as we get out of here then where I could go home and eat.
no, I understand. But like I said, I'll have the room, whatever day it is, I'll get the room from like 1 o'clock on, so if anybody needs to come in a little bit early, the room's available.
Okay.
You know, you've already, today I couldn't feed my rooster, so, he's starving.
Hey, now, is this set up to work for us? I know typically we might have more people. Does this, do you think?
Well, if we had our other people that came, you have, just as long as maybe we have someplace else. So,
I mean, I can get another round table out, but they're just so large.
no, I know, 1, 2, 3, how many more people do you have?
Just a couple more.
Yeah, we have 3 more.
8 total.
I know, we could do it a different way, but it would be.
The bad thing is too, is we're not outside, we're in
I
a
know,
closed
I know,
area.
but I mean, in order for us to see each other, it kind of has to be the circle. So we run out of space, the pylons don't help a whole lot, and it's now back in the old days, when we didn't have walls down here, it was a lot different. It was just a big open space, you could stretch out. You say that until the squirrels come swooping down.
I know, yeah, but he's got about 3 people, we have about
Yeah.
4 more.
Sweating,
Yeah.
bargaining, that's
Yeah.
what you.
Or the rain.
So we need to arrange for 2 more, at least 2 more tables.
I'm just trying to, I don't really know, because I can't move those over.
These chairs move, you can put one there, you can put one over there,
Where
you
you-
can put one over
Where do
there.
you want me to move the chairs to? That's a lot of chairs.
I know, I'm just saying in the corner, just stack more chairs.
Are you still videotaping?
Just as long as you have 4 more
Oh, yeah, we're
tables,
still,
Negotiation on
we're still
the
on.
tables.
at least 4 more tables,
4 more tables?
yeah.
All right, then I'm gonna look at the tables I'm gonna have to look and see about like that little square table. A little more individualized like that, because those are easier versus putting 4
Yeah.
more giant tables in. So those I can kind of squeeze in some other places, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the big round table's convenient, but it's enormous,
Yeah,
and it takes up too much space.
no, I agree.
Sorry, so we're looking at 4 more tables? I'd just like to know that now, so I can try to get some things squared away
About
for,
4 more.
so the only other way we could do this is, if we're like staring at each other, but that's
And
not.
we decided at 4:30, right?
But that's not conducive. All right, so now are we setting up both the 14th and the 28th?
Yeah.
Just putting them both down?
Yeah, you'll hold.
Okay. And I will get with that tomorrow about getting the dates.
Do we, and let me ask a logistical question with regards to trying to move towards a much purer form of IBB. Do we want to introduce a facilitator at this point while we have issues already identified and open that we're digging into? Or do we want to introduce a facilitator as we begin the next year's bargain? So from the beginning of the conversations, we're starting the IBB process. I'm trying to think of if we try to introduce,
When are we going to be starting our bargaining? Because I know we've already set dates for January, February, but we're also gonna be talking about money during that time, and that's when we know a facilitator is not gonna be beneficial to us. So
Well,
when are we
but
gonna be?
we don't want to wait until January.
I agree,
Wait
that's
till-
what I'm saying,
Okay,
so.
all right, just making sure.
So we're just wondering if maybe they should come in now, or should they come in at August?
Well, in August, we're gonna be talking money also.
I guess there's a chance we're always gonna be in the middle of something,
Yeah.
right? So we might as well, let me go ahead and reach out then to
Okay, yeah,
Cindy
if you don't mind,
Jeffries
yeah,
and see if
I'm
she
good with
can
that.
line somebody up for us. And, perhaps
facilitator who can give us a reintroduction to the process and the tools that we can use, and then we can tell her where we are and let her figure out where.
Yeah.
It's her job.
All right, and I appreciate everybody, thanks, man, thanks Kyle.
Thank you,
Welcome
everyone.
aboard, Stephanie.
A question for you, Mr. Baumann, without
Yeah,
not
give me a second,
Barbie
I'm gonna
here.
go turn this thing off, okay?
Is-
Yeah,
this
go
is-
turn it off first.
Yes,
Give
yes.
me a second.
Good.
It's on the iPad, that's what I have to plug in on Diane. Give me a second. I'll take it.
Good night, guys. Oh, let's see, when we, after we can, take a break. Yeah,
No.
it's these.
Oh.
Have a good night.
Yes, you too, thank you.
These ones I'll put in the thing with their marine science paper. And then my stuff. Good to have you on, Stephanie.
It was nice to be here and meet everybody.
Yeah, and that was really good what you brought up.
So she's got that
So
date.
now you,